You can learn more about the St. Christopher Fund or support our highway heroes by making a donation today. Just log on to truckersfund.org. Once again, that's truckersfund.org. Truckersfund.org. Sponsored by St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund.
Hot weather, dry roads, dust blowing through every vent. Summer's tough on your diesel engine, and bad fuel makes it worse. Howe's Diesel Defender cleans your system, fights wear, and boosts lubricity, keeping your engine cool, clean, and protected. Now available in half gallons, quarts, and the all-new 15-ounce bottle, perfect for diesel pickups and smaller tanks. When the heat's on, defend your diesel with Howe's. Find it at retailers nationwide and on Amazon.
Good morning. It's 5 a.m. and it's Friday, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll have that weekend weather forecast for you here shortly. Well, this weekend marks 1 year since the brazen attempt to assassinate President Trump in Pennsylvania as he was running for re-election. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has more.
6 agents on duty at the rally have been suspended. 5 Philadelphia field agents, along with one of the women assigned to Trump's team. Meanwhile, the so-called Big Beautiful Bill is giving the Secret Service a nearly $1.2 billion bump in funding, allowing them to revamp their training, communications, and drone technology. Earlier reviews found lack of funding was not to blame for any failures in Pennsylvania. A previous review found the Secret Service failed to perform at the elite level required to protect then-nominee Trump.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, after decades of operations and supplying hundreds of jobs in Rutherford County, Bridgestone has closed the doors of its facility in Laverne. Channel 4's Lydia Fielder has more.
Bridgestone has officially shut down its Laverne plant nearly a month earlier than expected now. The company originally planned to close July 31st, but did it on the 2nd instead. Employees were notified through a letter. Workers will still receive pay and benefits through the end of the month. The United Steelworkers Union says it's heading back to the bargaining table next week in Knoxville to negotiate severance there, and says Bridgestone said there would be enough work through July. The company is partnering with local agencies to help former employees find new jobs.
The closure affects 658 workers. We now turn to this morning's market numbers report, brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. They can be found online at beaconcm.com. With this morning's money news, here's Jim Ryan.
Investors head into the final trading day of the week with new records to beat. The S&P rose 0.25%. The Nasdaq tacked on a fraction. Both closed at all-time highs Thursday. The Dow gained 192 points to finish at 44,651. The latest volley in the trade wars has been fired by President Trump, who says he's raising tariffs on many Canadian imports to 35%. He accuses Canada of failing to stop the flow of fentanyl over the northern border of the U.S. Delta Airlines kicked off the second quarter earnings season by posting a larger profit than anticipated and restoring its previous earnings outlook for the rest of the year. Delta stock soared 12% after the carrier's earnings call. Another American legacy company has reported better than expected quarterly earnings despite new tariffs. Levi Strauss & Company CEO Michelle Gass acknowledges that Levi's prices have risen, but the company has raised its full-year guidance on strong foreign sales.
Let's go ahead and look at the stock numbers, the futures this morning. The Dow down 305, S&P down 39, the Nasdaq futures down 126. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. Already a crash this morning. It's near the airport, Murfreesboro Pike at Donaldson Pike. However, traffic volume is really light this time of morning, so not really affecting traffic all that much. And we still have some road work going on. Concord Road, westbound, just past Green Hills Boulevard. Still only one lane open. That's been that way for a couple of days. But again, not really affecting traffic as of yet. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.506, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into a Friday. It is July 11th, and I hope you are doing well. Dan here, along with KGB, and Jay Harper is in for Joan Jones. She'll return on Monday. I thought this was interesting. Jessica Tarloff from The Five, right, on Fox News, she said something yesterday. I think this was yesterday. And I thought that it was rather, what's the right word? Inflammatory would be the right word, I think, among other things. But she was, engrossed in a conversation on The Five. And I want to play you what she said. Basically, what she's saying is that ICE detention center staff are sexually assaulting the illegal aliens inside of these ICE detention centers. This was on The Five. Listen close. Need some audio, KGB.
What is going on with this immigration policy is not what people showed up on November 5th for. I know there are some folks out there are pictures of those grannies that had those signs that says mass deportation now.
What about you bring up something as charged as sexual abuse?
Yeah.
Who is causing the sexual abuse? Is it the people running the detention center are raping the detainees?
You've never heard of that happening, or they're using them?
Because I want to be clear that that's what you're alluding to.
That's what the report
So people that are running the detainee center are sexually abusing.
I don't have video of what was happening. I just know that they are seeing an increased amount of 911 calls saying that people
Biden ran. What an idiot. Can I just say, Jessica Tarloff, come on, man, you're on Fox News. You are on The Five. And so if you're going to bring that kind of an accusation, then you better darn right well bring the receipts. And she didn't. And so I had to go and I had to find the report. And so the only thing that I could find, and by the way, I am not saying that over the years, this has not happened. That's not what I'm saying at all. Of course it happens. But what she is saying is that I'm going to paraphrase now, is that since January, since Donald Trump took over, there has been a massive increase in sexual assaults in the ICE detention centers, and the people that were assaulting the people inside, the illegal aliens inside, were the ICE detention center staff. That's what Jessica Tarloff is saying. And yeah, that is inflammatory. Scandalous allegations. And if this is happening, people really, to be honest, we should know. So I went looking for the report, and I did find a report. This is from Wired.
Regional 911, where's your emergency? You speak Spanish? No, ma'am. I understand English. I need help. Ayuda.
A Wired investigation into 911 calls from 10 of the nation's largest ICE detention centers found that serious medical incidents are rising. Since January, these facilities have made nearly 400 emergency calls.
Right. You know why that is? It's because there's a lot more people in these detention centers, folks. Of course, you are going to have 911 call, whatever it is. Of course, you're going to have calls that are going to 911 or whatever, because there's a lot more people in these detention centers. Do I have to tell you this? Tarloff chose to focus on these allegations of sexual assault because, she's a leftist, right? And so everything that ICE does is evil. That's ultimately the position of the left. Everything ICE does is horrendous, and everything that the Trump administration does is awful, and they're the Gestapo, right? So that's what she chose to focus on. But nowhere in this Wired report, and by the way, you can find it on my social media, at Dan Mandis Show, find me on X. And so Tarlov, she focused on these allegations of sexual assault, accusing staff at these centers of sexually assaulting those being held. Well, listen to this.
Cardiac episodes, seizures, head injuries, suicide attempts, sexual abuse. Experts say the real number of medical crises inside the walls of these centers is likely much higher.
So in other words, this was a report. If this is what Jessica Tarlov is saying, if this is the report, they're talking about a wide array of issues that have been going on inside of these ICE detention facilities. And so she sounded, and I just played you the audio, she sounded utterly confused. It's like, Jessica, you are surrounded by conservatives on the 5. Yeah, you are definitely outnumbered. And you got two of the best. You got Greg Gutfeld and Jesse Waters. So if you're going to make those kinds of allegations, girlfriend, you better bring the receipts. And again, she didn't. Oh, I don't have the video. Well, what do you have, Jessica? Because if you're going to make those kinds of scandalous accusations, then you better have something more concrete than what you did. Because she didn't. And the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because members of ICE, members of law enforcement are getting attacked daily. And it's this kind of rhetoric that is instigating it. Here's one more audio bite from this report, and nowhere does it say that the staff en masse are assaulting people inside.
The system is stretched to its limit, and to cope, ICE is offloading detainees into federal prisons and tent-like camps, while issuing no-bid contracts to private prison giants like Geo Group and Core Civic. Dispatch records show how fast medical crises spiral inside these overcrowded remote facilities.
Well, you know what? That's what happens when you come here illegally. And by the way, I'm still saying, and everybody knows this, that the vast majority of people that are getting busted are the bad hombres. And so when you are the likes of Jessica Tarlov, when you are the likes of any leftist out there that continuously is calling ICE the Gestapo, among many other things. I mean, you've got the Gestapo, you've got, the usual Nazi, Hitler, all that kind of stuff. And then they're not saying anything to condemn the attacks on ICE. Well, then it's not really shocking when we see what we see. Like, for example, did you see what happened yesterday in Ventura, California? You got ICE that show up, and they're showing up at a kind of like a farm out in Ventura. It's, I guess, northwest of Los Angeles. And so ICE shows up, and they're looking for, bad guys. They're looking for people that are working on the farm that are either illegal or maybe even perhaps, some sort of child trafficking ring, because we've seen that happen on these farms as well. And so these ICE officers show up, and then, of course, there's a massive standoff. There's video, of course, of one of these bad guys, shooting at ICE officers. And then, of course, there's more video of these guys that are hurling big rocks at these ICE vans that are trying to leave. And so part of the discussion this week, and I don't want to redo yesterday's monologue, but part of the discussion today and yesterday and this week has been how you have all of these folks on the left that are using this really hyperbolic language to inspire these kinds of attacks. Did you hear what a state senator said in Nebraska? We're going to talk about that straight ahead. It is 5:15 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jay Harper has the traffic. Jay, what's up?
Yeah, Dan, we do still have that crash. It was reported, about 30 or 40 minutes ago near the airport, Harding Place at Donaldson Pike, and still folks in Brentwood having to deal with some road work there that's left only one lane open on Concord Road westbound past Green Hills Boulevard. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay. As far as your weather today, high of 92, scattered thunderstorms. On Saturday, a high of 94, scattered showers as well. And on Sunday, a high of 94, thunderstorms in the evening. And we'll keep you posted on all the weather coming up here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So a state senator in Nebraska, just talking about the nasty vitriol of people coming, folks on the left, directed at ICE. Hours after MS-13 kingpin on El Salvador's most wanted list was arrested in Nebraska. We told you about that yesterday, right? Yesterday in Omaha, Nebraska, El Salvador's most wanted was captured. He had taken part in 5 murders in El Salvador. He was at the top of their most wanted list. He's just hanging out in Omaha, Nebraska. He and another guy from MS-13 hanging out. So that's who ICE got, right? Nebraska State Senator Megan Hunt calls ICE Gestapo thugs and wants them to be stopped at every opportunity. This is what she said. This is on social media. State Senator Megan Hunt. F ICE and everyone who supports them. These thugs are America's Gestapo, our modern national shame, and must be stopped at every opportunity. Regardless of the fact that they just bagged a guy in Omaha, Nebraska, who was on El Salvador's most wanted list after taking part in 5 murders. Do you see how crazy this is? Do you see how absolutely insane this is on the left? But this is what they're doing. And this insanity, no doubt, is going to continue. One more, just to show you, and then I'm going to move on. But one more. The attacks on ICE, of course, what happened in Texas, where you had 10 or 11, it looks like it was more than just 10 of these folks are saying they're Antifa. Other people are saying trans-Tifa because 2 of them were trans. So you know the story. They try to lure the ICE agents out with fireworks, and then they come out, and then they attack them, right? And so total ambush. Do you know now that there is a give, send, go for these guys that attacked, ambushed these ICE officers? One local law enforcement officer was even shot in the neck. And now, yes, they are supporting them with a give, send, go. So you go to the page, right? They're asking for $20,000. Migration is beautiful. You go onto the page. Migration is beautiful. Okay. Well, be that as it may, you had 10 people who, by the way, were not migrants. These are, basically white dudes. And they had all their weaponry, and they shot at ICE officers. Has nothing to do with migration. This has to do with attempted murder. So migration is beautiful. Support DFW anti-ICE protesters. And they're asking for $20,000. They say, on the night of July 4th, local police arrested 10 people outside of the ICE Prairieland detention facility in Alvarado, Texas. They say, we don't know all of the circumstances leading to the arrests. We do know that popular outrage and resistance to deportations is growing across the country. Well, here's what we know about the circumstances leading to the arrests. They tried to lure ICE agents outside of the facility, and they did, and then they opened fire. I mean, I don't know what else you need to know. So they say organizers, activists, and affected communities have spent the year organizing rallies and protests outside of detention centers, just like the one in Alvarado. They say the 10 people arrested on July 4th currently face serious charges aimed not only at ruining their lives, but signaling an authoritarian criminalization of dissent and protest against ICE. Local authorities have set bail at $10 million per person. I mean, you want to talk about, what's the right word? Out of context. So the reason their lives are going to be ruined is because of what I just said, because they lured ICE agents outside of the building and then opened fire on them. That is why they are, their lives are going to be ruined. And this isn't signaling an authoritarian criminalization of dissent and protest against ICE. No, not at all, actually. But when you try to murder law enforcement officers, whether it is local law enforcement or, ICE and federal, then, yeah, you know what? Your life is going to be ruined. And by the way, they're lucky they weren't shot dead. But just to tell you how insane this is, they're asking for $20,000. Do you know how much they've raised? Is $14,168. And so leftists, they're lining up. They are. Man, they're lining up to give money to these people who tried to kill ICE agents. It is sad. It is unbelievable. But it is also something that is very consistent with what the left has been doing really since January when Donald Trump was sworn into office and the mass deportations continued. It is 5:22 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, so KGB, have we figured out, this is what's been going on behind the scenes?
Aha.
Your humble host overslept a little bit this morning again.
Yeah, well.
So we have completely shanked on really the one thing that we try to do well every single morning is the Daily Dan poll. And I couldn't think of one. And Jeff, apparently, I tasked young KGB, the producer of Nashville's Morning News, a lofty position, by the way, that has a lot of responsibility.
Yes, I understand.
With coming up with some sort of a Daily Dan poll. And have we come up with anything in the 25 minutes since we started down this road?
I'm trying to think of an ICE question, but it's hard to I'm trying not to have a 99-1 kind of question.
All right, Jay, what do you got? You got any kind of a Daily Dan poll question? See, the problem, what happens is I end up, throwing a bunch out at Jeff, and he's like, we did that last week. We did that yesterday. We did that 3 days ago. So here's the deal. If you can think of something, Jay, you'll be the hero of the day. And I'm going to open up the super text line right now, 615-737-9986. If we want to crowdsource maybe a suggestion for the Daily Dan poll, then that would be super duper terrific. By the way, watch us on YouTube, Facebook, 99.7 WTN X, and now Jay on Rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble.
It's very exciting, actually, that we are now on Rumble. So I think you go to 99.7 WTN on Rumble, and you can watch us there. At last check, Jay, you know how many people we had watching us on Rumble yesterday? I think it was 2.
The highest was 12.
The highest was during this show?
Well,
highest was 12?
It's a new platform. It takes a little while to
it's new to
get
us.
going.
It's also hard to find.
New to us.
People had difficulty finding our channel.
All right, so real quick, how many people do we have watching us on Rumble right now? I'm going to Jay, let's see who can guess it. I'm going to say, Jay, we've got 2. How many do you say we have on Rumble?
At this time of the morning,
sure,
I will say 5.
Okay. Jay's got a lot more faith than I do.
Well done, Jay. 5 is the number.
Wow. Jay, did you somehow cheat?
No,
Are you on Rumble?
I don't even know how to get to Rumble.
RUMBLE.
Right.
All right. Hey, Jay, what's coming up in the news?
Well, the president visiting Texas today, and perhaps, Dan, you could come up with some sort of question regarding that for the Daily Dan poll. But anyway, also ICE raids continuing in California, but as you've been talking about, Dan, not without confrontations. We'll have those stories coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning. It's 5:30 and it's Friday. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories, a weather forecast, traffic report. They're all coming up. President Trump expected to visit Central Texas today, where the agonizing search continues for those still missing. Exactly 1 week after a wall of water rushed through homes and more. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has the latest.
Crews carefully going through debris piles by hand, using drones and cadaver dogs to help locate the 166 people still missing. The death toll now reaching at least 121. Local officials have come under fire for their response to the flooding amid questions about whether they could have done more to warn people. President Trump saying in an interview that he doesn't blame local officials for what happened, but expressed support for building an alert system. Authorities now promising a review of the entire emergency response.
The Trump administration defiant, saying immigration raids will proceed after a day of tense confrontations in California with protesters attacking federal vehicles. Here's ABC's Lionel Moise.
California Governor Gavin Newsom's office calling the raids inhumane, saying agents continue to detain U.S. citizens and racially profile Americans, ripping families apart and disappearing parents and workers into cruel federal detention centers. President Trump's border czar defiant as he addressed the clashes.
They can protest all they want, but if they cross the line, they're going to be arrested and they're going to be prosecuted.
The raids leaving communities on edge. A Southern California Catholic bishop telling his parishioners to skip Mass if they are fearful of ICE.
Let's take a look at the stock futures before the opening bell. The Dow down 309, the S&P is down 41, the NASDAQ down 133. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. We now have a smooth commute coming into the metro. No accidents or breakdowns to report currently. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.536, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, Jay Harper.
Yes, sir?
Can you tell me, and there's a reason I'm asking, because it's one of the headlines this morning, Trump announces 35% tariffs on Canadian goods and threatens blanket increases on the rest of the world. I don't know if you saw that, but...
Right. He's ticked over what he says is Canada's lack of enforcement on, letting fentanyl get through the northern border.
Yeah, and he posted a letter last night to Truth Social that he had sent to Canada. So I'm wondering, and I'm gonna get into some of the details, but so what do the futures look like this morning?
Well, they're all down, and the one that's really down is the Dow. It's down 310. NASDAQ down 133. All three of them are down, though.
Well, we've seen this. We've all been here, done this.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster with the stocks, up, down, but that's just kind of typical.
Well, yeah, it is typical, and I'm assuming that they're reacting to what Donald Trump did last night. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see where the whole thing goes. But this is the story. Thank you, Jay.
Yes, sir.
Donald Trump has thrown, they say, a grenade on the tariff negotiations between the United States and Canada with a blistering letter to Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. The two nations, of course, have been trying to settle the tariff war that broke out when Donald Trump returned to office and announced plans to reorganize world trade. Canadian officials, of course, had hoped that a deal was close, but Trump's latest letter, which he shared to Truth Social on Thursday night, has set negotiations back to square one. The letter revealed he would raise tariffs on Canadian products to 35% from August 1st, a 10% increase on the current levy. Trump said the tariff hike was in part due to the fentanyl crisis and Canada's failure to stop the drugs from pouring into our country. He says, I must mention that the flow of fentanyl is hardly the only challenge we have with Canada, which has many tariff and non-tariff policies and trade barriers. Donald Trump wrote in the letter saying the fact is the United States has agreed to continue working with Canada despite Canada having financially retaliated against the United States, demonstrates the deep commitment to our trading partnership. This sounds a little bit like tough love. They say the letter did include a warning shot to Carney, vowing to continue upping the U.S. Tariffs if Canada was to impose retaliatory tariffs. In other words, obviously, so August 1st, we're going to raise our tariffs to 35% from 10% from that's raising it up 10%. Right now it's at 25%. And so the bottom line is Trump is saying if you try to raise tariffs on us in retaliation, that's fine. You go right on ahead because Canada needs us a heck of a lot more than we need them. So we'll go ahead and we'll raise our tariffs in response. If you want to go, Donald Trump is saying to Mark Carney, if you want to go, let's go. Which is really too bad because, I mean, they've been getting along pretty well. And so now, here we are. Donald Trump saying he would consider an adjustment to this letter if Canada works with me to stop the flow of fentanyl. Those tariffs, he says, may be modified upward or downward, depending on our relationship with your country. The latest round of tariffs are in addition to previously imposed tariffs on various sectors, talking about steel, copper, and aluminum, which came into effect for most countries on June 4th at a whopping 50%. So that is the latest on the tariffs. And that is, of course, big news this morning. The White House also accusing Jerome Powell of mismanaging the Federal Reserve. That is also in the news today. It is 5:41 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right. Oh, we do, by the way, we did get a poll question from a guy named Nick. So thank you, Nick, very much. How did we end up, KGB, what is the exact wording of the poll, the Daily Dan poll that you can find on YouTube? How did we word that with Nick's suggestion?
Yeah, is the announcement of the James Comey investigation a planned distraction from the Epstein case? Yes or no? And no, 57% to 43% yes.
Okay, very good. By the way, we do it. Thank you, Nick. We also, can we do a poll on Rumble too? Do they allow that?
No, I looked. We can't.
We can't do that?
I'll keep looking. Maybe it's hidden somewhere because it's still fresh, but I haven't seen it.
Okay.
But I'll keep looking.
All right, remember, we are on Facebook, X, YouTube, 99.7 WTN, and now Rumble, where we are up to 12 watchers on Rumble.
22, actually.
22. Wow, it's going up exponentially. Thank you. You can also, by the way, find us on all the major streaming apps as well. We do have, by the way, an update on the Epstein files. Apparently, Donald Trump, some are saying, has now ordered them to be released. I'm so confused. I thought the Epstein files didn't exist. Apparently, they do. Because some are saying that now that Donald Trump has ordered them released, so we'll have to see ultimately what happens. Alan Dershowitz. Oh, by the way, another thing. FOIA requests have been made by Judicial Watch, and apparently the latest on that is that the FBI is supposedly going through their records to, I guess, cooperate with the FOIA requests that have been made by Judicial Watch. Alan Dershowitz was on with Sean Spicer last night, and Dershowitz says, yeah, I know exactly who is on that list.
So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know.
Well, he should know because he was involved in this. Remember, Alan Dershowitz was accused of some really creepy things way back when. More on that in a second, but more from Alan Dershowitz.
But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them. And that's wrong.
Just out of curiosity, without names, are these politicians, business leaders, both?
They're everything. And let me tell you, a lot of them are, at least one of them is somebody who was accused. Others are accusers. And the judges have said, if somebody calls themselves a victim, we're not going to give any information about them, but they may not be victims. They may be perpetrators. So we don't have information about false accusers. And we know there have been many false accusers who have accused innocent people for money. And those records are being deliberately, willfully suppressed. Mm-hmm. And they shouldn't be suppressed. If the accusation is allowed out, so should the material that diminishes the credibility of the accuser. We want total transparency on this.
See, but that's a big question and one that I struggle with. Because as Alan Dershowitz says, there have been many unproven allegations. And so is that what we want to see released? Do we want unproven allegations released? If, I don't know, whatever. John Doe from Philadelphia. Let's say that somebody somewhere 15 years ago made an allegation against him, but, with the Epstein files, and then all of a sudden, it'd be longer than that, right? Whatever. So let's just say that there were allegations made against him. Well, then do you release his name, even though there's no supporting evidence that he ever did anything wrong? I mean, that's part of the conversation, because here's the deal. You and I both know that if John Doe from Philadelphia, if he is at all connected in any way to Epstein, and there was a accusation made against him with no supporting allegations or no supporting evidence, well, then his life is going to be destroyed because there was an accusation made against him. And that there are people, many people in this country who, even if there is an allegation without any evidence, doesn't matter. Your life is ruined and your career is ruined. Your reputation is ruined as well. So and listen, I get it. It's all about total transparency. Now, Alan Dershowitz, he was accused. But ultimately, he was able to clear his name. He talked about the false accusations and the false accusers. Some guy was wrongly accused. His name is put out there, and he's going to be harassed until, his dying day. And if there's no cooperating evidence, well, then why would we do that to a person? But at the same time, you do want full and open transparency. But you put the names out there without corroborating evidence, well, then it's just going to become like a witch hunt. Now, Alan Dershowitz was on the list. And he says, you know what? There's an actual story behind all of this.
Every single document, no redaction. That's what I've said from day one. I waive any of my rights of privacy. Anything there is about me, I'm happy because it will be exculpatory, because I know I haven't touched a woman other than my wife from the day I met Jeffrey Epstein. I don't even hug people, but I was falsely accused and I was able to prove it. And I was able to prove it through documents. And I want other people to be able to disprove false accusations through documents. But these documents are being suppressed and withheld.
So Dershowitz, of course, famed attorney, one of the best ever. And he was Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer. Got him his 2008 non-prosecution agreement. And he was also accused by Virginia Giuffre in 2014 of being trafficked to Dershowitz, made his life a living hell. And then years later, and this is what I'm trying to caution folks on, years later, she said, well, I may have made a mistake. Okay, well, a man's life was made a living hell because you made a mistake. And in case you're thinking that he bought her off, from what I understand, from what I've read, there was actually no financial transaction. Dershowitz was able to prove his innocence. Now, clearly, she is a victim. Virginia Giuffre, she is a victim. But, it does bring home the point that innocent people's lives can be ruined by this. People still believe that Dershowitz is guilty, even though she took the accusations back and it's off the table, basically cleared his name. People still look at him as, a creeper. People still look at him as somebody who was involved with Epstein Island and, did all of these untoward things. Because remember, the accusations are made, but then when the pullback happens, in this case with Virginia Giuffre, well, the pullback isn't nearly as loud as the accusation. And we know that that is always the case. Now, remember, Steve Bannon, who is a close friend of Donald Trump, of course, big supporter, and Elon Musk said that Bannon's name is on that list. Now, Elon Musk also said that Donald Trump's name is on the list, and I think that this is the same thing that I say with all these folks. If you're going to start running around making accusations, you better bring the damn receipts. And so Bannon is out there saying now, okay, well, now that I've been accused, then you've got to release it all to prove that I'm not on it.
They have to go and demand, they have to go to the court and demand and unseal the sealed evidence in Epstein. It starts there. Then bundle everything together. You got sealed and unsealed and release it all. Or, which I've called for yesterday, he should appoint a special prosecutor, special counsel now for the 2020 election and everything after that, and include Russiagate and all this. You have to do that. That should be done immediately, and that should report to the President of the United States. And also, they should do one if DOJ can't move off the dime and the FBI can't move off the dime, there should be a special counsel to go through everything and release it all.
9159 says this and brings up a good point. By the way, Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. Hey, Dan, I think you're misunderstanding what Dershowitz is saying. What he's saying is that there are people claiming to be victims, and that claim is out there in the public, but there are things and I'm paraphrasing what this guy's writing, but there might be information in the files that would exonerate them, that would prove their innocence. So, yeah, I could go either way on this, and he's right. There have been accusations made against some folks, and if there is information in the files that would exonerate some folks, then yeah, that should be released. But two things can be true at once. There might also be people that are in these lists and in the file and whatever, that their name is there. And there might be some accusations there, but there might not be any exculpatory evidence in there, but there also might not be any evidence that they did anything. If John Doe out there in Philadelphia, his name is on the list and it says that he had an appointment with Virginia Giuffre, and literally that's all there is. Well, I mean, to me, I don't know, is that enough to ruin somebody's life? Is that enough to make someone, a pariah? I don't know. But I also want full transparency. So I'm admitting to you that, some of these things here, they're going to lack the proper context to give us the full scope of what was going on. And so then we've got a witch hunt going on. So I'm conflicted on this. I will admit I'm very conflicted on this. 7422 says Dershowitz doesn't hug people. 4702 is called guilt by association. Yeah, that I get without the Dershowitz. I totally get that as well. By the way, I love what Steve Bannon said. I love the idea of a special counsel. I think that most people would welcome that, depending, by the way, on who the special counsel is and ensuring that person is not involved really with the FBI, the CIA, the government at all. I mean, you got to try to figure out somebody who will have some credibility. That's what you need to do. You need to have somebody with some credibility. I think Alan Dershowitz would be credible, don't you? Would Alan Dershowitz be credible as a special counsel? Now, real quick. What time is it? Real quick. Judicial Watch filed a FOIA request, and they are now reporting that the FBI is now looking for documents. Now, this comes just days after the FBI reported that there are no more documents and that Jeffrey Epstein did kill himself. And there's no list. There's nothing left. That's what the FBI said. Now, we're hearing that Donald Trump, I have not seen anything official, by the way, but we're hearing that Trump is now ordering all of the documents released, and that the FBI is culling through its records to see how they can abide by the FOIA request by Judicial Watch. This is from the Washington Examiner. In the latest Trump administration confusion over the high-profile case, the Justice Department said in a court filing that the FBI search continues and that it does not yet know if more documents will be found or released. This is Tom Fenton from Judicial Watch.
I think they decided for political purposes they didn't want to include the individuals who are on these lists and put them in the public domain. And they were concerned that some of them may not have done something warranting the disclosure. I mean, that's the most charitable interpretation. But there is a list. There's no doubt. I mean, they talk about in the memo they wrote, well, there's no incriminating client list. Well, what does that mean? I want the non-incriminating client list. And of course, a client list is a term of art, right? Where are his associates? Where is the list of contacts? And we asked under our FOIA lawsuit, Pam Bondi, give us the documents that you say you were looking at. Give us documents about the release of these documents. You said the FBI was obstructing the release. They came back to us and said, we have nothing.
So, yeah, Tom Fitton, along with many, many others, many other Americans, really, really confused by this whole thing. By the way, Fox News reported yesterday, I'll probably talk about this a little bit later on in the radio broadcast. But Fox News is saying that the number of victims, the number of Jeffrey Epstein victims, could rank over 1,000. So that's new information. 5:55, and Jay Harper is in for Joan Jones. And Jay, what's coming up in the news at 6?
Sure, Dan. Marco Rubio. He's in Malaysia meeting with Southeast Asian nations. A major Middle Tennessee employer ceases operations earlier than expected, and we'll have this morning's money news. That's coming up at the top of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
So I'm getting a lot of suggestions, Jay, as far as who the special counsel could be, because people are calling for a special counsel investigation into Epstein.
Right.
Matt Gaetz.
Yeah, I see that on the text line.
Tom Fenton from Judicial Watch.
Trey Gowdy.
Trey Gowdy gets my vote.
Yeah, he's a bulldog. Again, having lived in South Carolina for a number of years, I'm very familiar with him. And the dude is a bulldog.
He is. I was still am a big Trey Gowdy fan. And Tom Fenton, I've always liked Tom Fenton as well. That is a man who is always simply looking for the truth. Doesn't matter, what side the truth falls on, left or right. Man just wants the truth. That's the whole point behind it. Judicial Watch. So 2112 let Fenton head the special counsel. Totally agree. So for me, it's either Tom Fenton or Trey Gowdy, and Jay's vote is Trey Gowdy as well. KGB, you got a vote on who you would like to see very quickly because we're running late, but who'd you like to see as special counsel?
I do not know.
Okay. Thanks for playing along.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm doing stuff behind the scenes.
It's fine.
Here.
It's fine. All right. Well, we got news coming up. It's Jay Harper in for Joan. By the way, coming up next, Donald Trump and the Nobel Peace Prize. You're not going to believe what publication is actually now saying that Trump should actually get the Nobel Peace Prize. Believe it or not, it's part of the mainstream media. Details straight ahead on WTN.
Good morning. It is 1 minute past 6 a.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We will get you that weekend weather forecast and a traffic report here shortly. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he's at the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. It's a foreign ministerial meeting, and it's happening in Malaysia. And he has been commenting on talks that he had with his Chinese counterpart today. And that touched on the August 1st tariff deadline to resolve trade issues with countries from around the world.
Obviously, there are some issues we're going to have to work through, and that's to be expected with countries of our size and scope and influence in the world, two global powers such as the United States and China. But I thought it was a very constructive and positive meeting and gave us some things we can work on together.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, after decades of operations and supplying hundreds of jobs in Rutherford County, Bridgestone has closed its doors on its facility in Laverne. Channel 4's Lydia Fielder has more.
Bridgestone has officially shut down its Laverne plant nearly a month earlier than expected now. The company originally planned to close July 31st, but did it on the 2nd instead. Employees were notified through a letter. Workers will still receive pay and benefits through the end of the month. The United Steelworkers Union says it's heading back to the bargaining table next week in Knoxville to negotiate severance there, and says Bridgestone said there would be enough work through July. The company is partnering with local agencies to help former employees find new jobs.
And the closure affects 658 workers. Well, we are getting breaking news that a man has barricaded himself inside a home in Clarksville with his children this morning. Police have established a perimeter. This is on Pat Drive in Clarksville. The situation began, according to News 2, as domestic related before the man's spouse was able to get out of the house, according to police. It's not really known how many children are inside the home. Police are trying to negotiate with this man that has barricaded himself inside his home. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. No accidents or breakdowns, but yeah, we are starting to see the slowdowns that are in the usual locations. They're the 24-65 merge there at Trinity Lane. That is starting to back up. And the same on Vietnam Vets coming in to meet 65 South and up around Millersville on 65 South. Seeing some log jam there as well. And the delays starting on 24 headed into town there in the Smyrna area. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.607 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in for a Friday, July 10th. Find us on Facebook, X, YouTube, 997WTN.com, and now Rumble. And you go to Rumble, it's 99.7 WTN. Even USA Today is now calling for Donald Trump to be nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. I love this story for so many reasons because, honestly, I do believe that Donald Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize. Certainly if Barack Hussein Obama, way back when, got the Nobel Peace Prize, Donald Trump, because he got it for nothing. Donald Trump has done not only something, he's done a lot. And so USA Today, they have an opinion piece written by someone named Nicole Russell. And they posted it. And as you can imagine, Donald Trump reposted this to Truth Social. But I got to tell you that it was an incredible moment. Earlier this week, I played you the audio as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu telling President Trump he was going to nominate him for that Nobel Peace Prize.
The president has already realized great opportunities. He forged the Abraham Accords. He's forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well-deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, Bibi.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
All right, so this is from USA Today. Benjamin Netanyahu, of course, saying that he was nominating Trump for his efforts in the Middle East. Those efforts include helping in 2020 to forge the Abraham Accords, which established diplomatic ties between Israel and Bahrain, Morocco, and the United Arab Emirates. They go on to say Trump has been nominated before for the Nobel Peace Prize, but this time it should be taken far more seriously. The progress that he helped to orchestrate in recent weeks, they say, is extraordinary, which it is, including the successful mission to stop Iran's rush to build nuclear weapons, followed by a still intact ceasefire between Israel and Iran. History shows us just how incredible those achievements are in keeping the world safe. They say at the White House on Monday, Netanyahu telling Donald Trump that the president is forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. They say that is undoubtedly true, but Trump's critics, including much of the mainstream media, will never admit it. Trump's Iran-Israel ceasefire did not seem possible given the Iranian government's close ties to terrorist organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah. Yet, Trump did it, and that is also worthy of recognition. Now, they point out, and I'll point out, past presidents have won, including, of course, Obama, Jimmy Carter, Woodrow Wilson, and Teddy Roosevelt. But they say that, and this is absolute truth. Again, I'm reading from the USA Today, where they have a piece advocating for Donald Trump winning the Nobel Peace Prize. They say Trump's critics would melt into puddles of outrage, of course, if it were ever to happen. But I have a question for them. She writes, if stopping the worst state sponsor of terrorism from acquiring nuclear weapons and then ending a war in the Middle East isn't worthy of the Nobel Peace Prize, then what is? And it's a valid question. Peace through strength, they say, is more than a slogan. It is an idea that has prevented more horrific wars than we will ever know. Donald Trump has shown he not only understands that idea, but also will act on it. The Norwegian Nobel Committee should as well. And she's right. Now, the question is, do you really think that that Norwegian Nobel Committee would give Donald Trump the Nobel Peace Prize? I don't think that they will. I don't think that they would ever even consider it because, well, let's face it, Trump derangement syndrome. But one thing he has been trying to do, and he has not been able to do yet, and I don't know if he's going to be able to, is end the war in Ukraine, between Ukraine, of course, and Russia. But that doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon.
The president said he's disappointed in Russia and told us he thinks he'll have a major statement to make about Russia on Monday. Though when pressed, he did not say what that statement will be. The president also said he just made a deal today with NATO in which he says the U.S. will send weapons to Ukraine through NATO, and NATO is, quote, paying for those weapons 100%, including the Patriot air defenses that Ukraine has been asking for, and that NATO will distribute them.
Yep, that was Kirsten Welker last night, where she did say absolutely Donald Trump is going to be sending weapons to Ukraine, and he also has a big announcement regarding Russia that is going to happen on Monday. And so we've gone, I mean, I'm not saying anything that you folks don't already know. We've gone from the war will be ended in a day to, yeah, we're going to be sending more weapons to Ukraine. Those Patriot air defenses are, by the way, from what I can gather, surface-to-air missiles to defend against aerial assaults, including missiles, aircraft, and some say drones. NATO Secretary General Mark, I think is it Rudy, spoke to Donald Trump earlier on Thursday, saying that earlier today, I urged leaders to go further so Ukraine has more ammunition and air defenses. He posted on X. He says, I've just spoken with President Trump and am now working closely with allies to get Ukraine the help that they need. So Trump's saying that NATO is going to pay for these air defenses, these missiles and the drones and so on and so forth. And so NATO is going to pay for it. Well, that's good. But of course, who funds NATO? That would be us. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also saying Thursday that the United States is actively talking to countries in Europe about sharing Patriot batteries with Ukraine. So I think it is a good time to remind you what Donald Trump said back in 2023 to Maria Bartiromo, that if Putin did not make a deal, he would arm Ukraine. Big time.
What I'm saying is that I know Zelensky very well and I know Putin very well, even better. And I had a good relationship, very good with both of them. I would tell Zelensky, no more, you got to make a deal. I would tell Putin, if you don't make a deal, we're going to give them a lot. We're going to give them more than they ever got if we have to.
So that is the big question now. Is Donald Trump going to arm Ukraine to the point where, because, you know, Trump makes a point, everybody makes a point to say, well, these weapons are defensive in nature. At some point, since Trump is so frustrated with Vladimir Putin, are they going to get to the point where we start and NATO starts giving Ukraine more weaponry so that they can actually be more offensive in nature and that they could go on the attack more against Russia, courtesy of weapons provided by the United States. It is 6:15. By the way, Marco Rubio is talking about just this. I've got audio from him straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7. Time to check the roads. Very good. At 6:16 on Nashville's Morning News. As far as your weather for today, July 11th, Friday, high of 92, scattered thunderstorms as well. Saturday, high of 94, scattered showers. And on Sunday, high of 94, thunderstorms in the evening. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, so got a lot going on with Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky. I just told you that the USA Today is actually out there now advocating for Donald Trump to get the Nobel Peace Prize. And I wholeheartedly agree. I know that a lot of you do agree with that. And, you know, if you take out, and this is very simple to do for all of us who are rational, but if you take out the Trump derangement syndrome and the fact that it is Donald Trump that is doing all of this, you know, negotiating peace all across the country, certainly in the Middle East, you had also the peace agreement between Pakistan and India, which was also a very big deal. If you take away the fact that it's Donald Trump and it was any other politician, that politician would get the Nobel Peace Prize. And so now there's also the story, and Joan and I spoke about this a little bit yesterday, this report that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth decided to unilaterally, remember this story? I didn't even see this story because I'm getting to the, I don't know about you, but I'm getting to the point where I've stopped paying attention to the BS. Do you get like that? Where it's like, you know what? I've only got in my show, I've only got 4 hours a day to cover the things that I want to cover. And if I spend my entire day debunking what every village idiot on the left has to say about Donald Trump, I'll never have any time for the real news. Oh, speaking of village idiots, wait till you hear what I've got coming up at about 6:35 on Nashville's Morning News. And I'm going to be talking about the left's, I think probably the left's biggest village idiot right now. Who might that be? I'll tell you coming up at 6:35. Marco Rubio, though, is talking about these weapons and the weapons shipments to Ukraine and how the reporting yesterday that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth decided to unilaterally stop weapons shipments to Ukraine. Well, I know you'll be shocked by this, but that turned out to be fake news.
The Pentagon is constantly reviewing stockpiles, especially after an engagement, such as the one we had in the Middle East. So what my point is that there wasn't a policy decision not to give weapons to Ukraine. It was a review in which certain munitions were temporarily paused for that review and for that purpose. And this reporting out there that there was no awareness of it is not true. Now, but no policy decision was made. In essence, no one ever said we're not sending weapons to Ukraine. That's been appropriated by Congress, and that's continued. And that continues to this very day.
All right. And by the way, this is also interesting. A new book talks about how Donald Trump threatened Vladimir Putin. And it really does bring home this notion of peace through strength. You know what the headline is? Donald Trump cautioned Vladimir Putin that he would bomb the Shiite out of Moscow if Russia invaded Ukraine, according to a new book. That's right. Donald Trump actually said, telling Vladimir Putin that he would bomb the living crap out of Moscow if Russia invaded Ukraine. That was when Donald Trump was in office. And there is audio on this. The audio is really bad. Believe it or not, it's not even radio worthy because it's at some party or something. I did post the audio. If you want to find it, it is on my X feed at Dan Mandis Show. But in the book, 2024, How Trump Retook the White House and the Democrats Lost America, Donald Trump told the donors that he had issued a harsh warning to Vladimir Putin about any potential invasion. Additionally, he said that he had issued a similar warning to Chinese President Xi Jinping about the Chinese leader if he invaded Taiwan, according to the book. Here's the quote from Donald Trump. I was with Putin and I told him, Vladimir, if you do it, we're going to bomb the crap out of Moscow, Trump revealed, according to the audio recording. It's on my social media on X at Dan Mandis Show. He says, if you go into Taiwan, I'm going to bomb the crap out of you, he said to Beijing and Xi Jinping. He thought I was crazy. He didn't believe me either, except 10%. And 10% is all you need. Isn't that what we've always said about Donald Trump? What we have always said about Donald Trump is that you never know what he's going to do. If Donald Trump tells Xi Jinping, I'm going to bomb the crap out of Beijing if you go into Taiwan. If Donald Trump says to Vladimir Putin, I'm going to bomb the crap out of Moscow if you go into Ukraine, and 90% of you is like, oh, this dude's bluffing. But if there's 10%, there's no way they're going in. In response, the White House says that Russia only invaded Ukraine in February of 2022, after Donald Trump's first term in office. And so the update is, and I've thrown a lot at you. The update is that we are sending more weapons to Ukraine. NATO is going to pay for it. Of course, we fund NATO a lot, so whatever. Donald Trump is going to have a big announcement on Russia on Monday. And by the way, this final parting shot from Donald Trump regarding Vladimir Putin from earlier this week.
That was a war that should have never happened, and a lot of people are dying, and it should end. And I don't know, we get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin. For you want to know the truth, he's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
All right, and listen, Donald Trump is actually right, because that is Vladimir Putin's MO. I mean, that is what he Xi Jinping too, you know. They have all of these grandiose, great conversations. They have these meetings and so forth. But as Donald Trump says, they ultimately are meaningless because they never actually do what they say they're going to do. So watch for, on this Friday, watch for a big announcement on Monday from Donald Trump regarding Vladimir Putin and Russia. It is 6:23 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7, and Jay Harper is in for Joan Jones. Jay, what's coming up in the news at 6:30?
Sure, Dan. The search continues for those missing after flooding in Texas. It's been 1 year since the assassination attempt on President Trump in Pennsylvania, and there's a hostage situation in Clarksville. We'll have those stories coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Window Nation. Listen, Dan Mandis here for my friends at Window Nation. This is my window company. They put 4 windows in my home. And if you're thinking about new windows, you've got to check them out today. As you know, clearly it is really hot. You need to make sure that cool air is staying in and the really hot air is staying out with Window Nation. Now, these are some of the best energy-saving windows around, and they're installed in a day or less, courtesy of Window Nation. Their crews all have years of experience, and if you want to increase the value of your home, call Window Nation. They've got a great deal going on right now. You can save 50% off all window styles, and you can save big time with 0% interest for 5 years, no interest until 2030. Now, look, this sale, it's going to end soon, so call today. Tell him Dan told you to reach out. 866-90-NATION for Window Nation. That's 866-90-NATION. Schedule a fast, free estimate right now with Window Nation. Don't forget that great deal. Save 50% off all window styles, and you can save big time with 0% interest for 5 years, no interest until 2030. 866-90-NATION is the phone number. 866-90-NATION, windownation.com. 628, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I was teasing my 635 segment by talking about, I said, by the way, wait till you hear the update on the left's, village idiot. And you'll guess who that is. And Guy texted into the super text line. A lot of people texting in this morning, so I lost the number. But the person said, there are too many to mention. 2565 says, I'm trying to guess who your left most useful idiot is right now, but there are too many to mention. I am curious, though. KGB, can you guess who would be, in your opinion, who is the biggest village idiot on the left?
Oh God, that's right? Such a tough question. It's got to be Jasmine Crockett.
All right, Jay Harper in for Joan. Who is the left's most useful village idiot?
Jeff stole my thunder. That's exactly the name that came to my mind.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that coming up next. Also, take the Daily Dan poll. It is on YouTube. By the way, you can now find us on Rumble, 99.7 WTN. The Daily Dan poll for today, though, on YouTube is...
in the announcement of the James Comey investigation, is this a distraction from the Epstein case? Yes or no?
And what are people saying?
It's now 55% yes to
55%
no.
yes to 45% no. Good poll question. All right, thank you very much. It is 6:30, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 6:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got traffic and weather coming up. 1 week after flash flooding killed at least 121 people, the search continues for as many as 166 that are still unaccounted for in the Texas Hill Country. More than 2,000 local, state, and federal workers are involved in the effort.
This is Jim Ryan.
It's just like trying to get our hands around, what's going on.
Sharon Mays lives in the flood-ravaged area of central Texas, and as President Trump arrives to tour the flood zone,
the outpour of love, the outpour of support locally to President Trump, it's just unbelievable.
A major disaster declaration frees up federal resources for people like Mays to at least start the recovery.
This weekend marks 1 year since the brazen attempt to assassinate President Trump in Pennsylvania as he was running for re-election. The Secret Service has announced a series of reforms after suspending 6 agents, and Mr. Trump is speaking out about it all. Here's ABC's Nicole D'Antonio.
President Trump reflecting on the day he almost died a year ago this weekend and on the actions of the Secret Service.
There were mistakes made.
The agency taking the past year to reflect.
They had a bad day, and I think they'll admit that.
And now there are changes after that rough day. A newly released report revealing the agency has streamlined their operation since that deadly day in Pennsylvania, saying it reviewed the recommendations made by external oversight bodies and made numerous operational policy and organizational reforms.
Back here in Tennessee, News 2 reports a man has barricaded himself inside a home in Clarksville this morning, and his children are in there with him. Clarksville police, they've established a perimeter around the home on Pat Drive. This all started at about 2:30 this morning. The situation began as domestic related before the man's spouse was able to exit the home safely, according to police. It's not known exactly how many children are inside the home. Police are continuing to negotiate with this man, and they are asking folks to try to stay clear of Pat Drive in Clarksville this morning while they deal with this tenuous situation. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Thank you, Jay. Dan Mandis at 632. Business owners, if your concrete floors need a little love, well, my friends at Specialty Coatings, they can help you. Now, remember what I've been telling you. That if your floors of your business, if they're a mess, if they look like crap, that's a reflection on your business. Specialty Coatings knows that, and they do and can help you. Now, they specialize in concrete floor coatings and polished concrete. They've been doing it for 30 years. You've probably walked on some of their incredible concrete floor coating around town, across Tennessee, as a matter of fact. They've done work in all the major sports stadiums, the arenas, and the convention centers. You know, just last year, Specialty Coatings in Nashville, they installed over 1 million square feet of coatings for businesses across Tennessee. Now, those buildings include manufacturing, warehouses, airplane hangars, retail, and so much more. And I don't care what your business is. If your floor is a mess, Specialty Coatings can help you. They're not some fly-by-night company. You know, a couple of guys show up with a bucket and a roller. No. They've got the equipment and the skilled installers. So your job is going to be done on time and on budget. No matter how bad your floor looks, Specialty Coatings can fix it. And each project is customized to your building and your business and your needs. Call them, tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-591-9491, 615-591-9491. You can email them, sales@specialtycoat.com. Always mention my name, sales@specialtycoat.com. That website, specialtycoat.com. Dan Mendes here at 635. Listen, I've been telling you about, and you people have been mocking me about my upstairs bathtub that has holes in it. It is ugly. It needs a lot of work. It's going to be fixed courtesy of my friends at Zintex. Now, if you've got a bathtub that also needs work, they have been in business since 2001, and they are here to help you. Now, Zintex can remodel your shower, remodel your bathtub, or even convert your bathtub into a walk-in shower. Now, these types of home improvements, talk to any real estate person out there. These type of improvements, they can increase the value of your home. And Zintex, it's painless, man. They can have it wrapped up in a day. Now, Zintex is an award-winning company that offers limited lifetime warranties for both their products and installation. Now, you can make your bathroom safer with a walk-in shower complete with grab bars and a bench seat for the older folks in your life. So fix, remodel, or convert your tub into a shower today with Zintex. That phone number, 629-258-7747. They've got a great deal going on right now. You mentioned my name, and you get $1,750 off or no interest for 24 months, whichever works best for you. And also, no payments for 2 years. Zintex.com is the website. You can see examples of their work there. It is amazing. Zintex, Zintex.com.
We have picked up a couple of crashes this morning. The first one in Hermitage. This would be Central Pike east of Tulip Grove Road, and another in Antioch, Murfreesboro Pike and Hobson Pike. We are starting to see the volume delays coming down from the north on 65, the 2465 merge there near Trinity Lane, and coming down from around Millersville. Also, Vietnam Vets headed toward 65. You've got some slowdowns there. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Yes, the left village idiot that I've been talking about is indeed Jasmine Crockett. So I want to play you a soundbite. You know what? I'm beginning to notice, Jay Harper, you've hosted before. I'm beginning to notice that on a slow news day, which today's not a slow news day, but if there was a slow news day, all you got to do is, go to like X and type in Jasmine Crockett, and she said something, completely dumb. So she was on a podcast, Jamal Bryant, and she made some waves with this statement where she's calling people that voted for Donald Trump dumb, basically.
Most people voted the wrong way because they were uneducated, and that's not to call them dumb. But literally, life sometimes is life, and you're trying to keep a roof over your head, keep food on the table, trying to make sure that your kids have what they need. And so you're not tuned in.
All right, so can we just go through the complete and utter BS here with Jasmine Crockett? So she is saying that people are dumb if they didn't vote for her party or uneducated, whatever. And so clearly she is implying that people, and I'm air quoting here, voted the wrong way because they just didn't know any better. And so this is, and so I'm gonna, hit her with a bunch of truth. But this is so typical of Democrats in general, right? Hurl insults as opposed to having an actual discussion based on facts. So let's go through some facts, shall we? She said that people are not engaged because, well, life.
But literally, life sometimes is life, and you're trying to keep a roof over your head, keep food on the table, trying to make sure that your kids have what they need. And so you're not tuned in.
All right, so people are just, let's go through these one by one, all right? She says that people are just trying to keep food on the table. People are trying to keep food on the table. Under the Democrat Party, your party, the Democrats, Jasmine Crockett, stuff was a hell of a lot more expensive. Inflation was way up, over 9%. For a long time, it was really high. People had to put food and necessities on credit cards because Bidenflation was up over 9% because of the rampant spending of your political party, Jasmine Crockett. When Trump came into office, by the way, inflation went down a lot. She says that people are just trying to keep a roof over their head. Well, Jasmine Crockett, under your party, under Joe Biden, mortgage interest rates peaked at a 23-year high of nearly 8%. Those rates, by the way, went down because when Donald Trump came into office. The rates went up because of Joe Biden and Biden inflation, because mortgage rates go up with inflation. His rampant spending, Joe Biden's rampant spending, caused inflation to skyrocket. And again, Donald Trump is working his tail off trying to get those rates down. Under Trump the first time around, 30-year mortgages fell from 4.09% to 2.77%. And I love how she says people voted the wrong way, right? That's what she said. People voted the wrong way. Because I hate to break it to you, Jasmine Crockett, but people voted the way that they voted because they were feeling and experiencing what Joe Biden and your party had to offer, which was nothing good, pure and simple. So when she says people are just trying to keep food on the table and a roof over their head, well, those two situations were made a lot worse under your party, Joe Biden. And by the way, Jasmine Crockett calling people uneducated. Now, let's not forget that Jasmine Crockett, she went to private school, private college, and that whole thing. You got, this is well-worn territory, but you've got, street Jasmine, and then you've got private school Jasmine. So we've been there, done that. But there are many times where she purposely makes herself sound uneducated so that she could apparently sound more street. But can we just, as she calls other people uneducated, can we go through some of Jasmine Crockett's greatest hits? Here's one.
It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally.
Wait, I want to make sure one more time.
It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally.
Right. Well, under U.S. Code 1325, it is a crime to enter or even attempt to enter the U.S. at a time or place not designated by immigration officers. So it is actually a crime to try to and enter our country illegally.
Dan, you don't need to say all that. It's called illegal.
That's exactly right. You're right. U.S. Code 1326. It is a crime to enter or attempt to re-enter the U.S. without authorization after a prior deportation or removal. I mean, bottom line is, yeah, it is a crime. So when she spews all of her complete and utter BS, you've got to just point out the absolute facts. Because, you know, people like Jasmine Crockett, they like to talk in platitudes. And so sometimes you've got to just, try to give them a little bit of truth. And I've got a little bit more truth for Jasmine Crockett coming up. It is 6:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather goes, it's going to be hot today. Today, a high of 92, scattered thunderstorms. Saturday, high of 94, scattered showers. And on Sunday, a high of 94, thunderstorms in the evening. By the way, the feels like is going to be a lot hotter than that, probably up towards triple digits, if not more. So going over some of the greatest hits, if you will, of Jasmine Crockett as she made the comment on a podcast earlier this week that, people are uneducated, basically, if they voted for Donald Trump. And so my point is, number one, obviously that is insulting. Number two, that is indicative and emblematic as to how the left sees Donald Trump supporters. But some of the things that she says have been flat out wrong. And so as she is out there calling people like us uneducated, I'm pointing out some of the things that she has said that really gives an indication as to, despite that big, private school college that she went to, how uneducated she is. There was this.
It's not a criminal. It's a crime. It's not a crime, which is why they're so frustrated, because they really want our local law enforcement to go out and round up people when they could be looking out for the murderers and the sexual abusers as well as the robbers. They want them to go and round people up.
Wow. So she's actually saying that law enforcement does not want to go after the murderers and the sexual abusers and the robbers. All they want to do is go after illegal aliens. That's actually what she said. I hate to break it to you, Jasmine, but that is exactly who they're going after. The illegal aliens, who are the murderers and the sexual abusers and the robbers. I mean, just this week, we picked up bad hombres in Indiana and Omaha, Nebraska. They'd all been busted for murder and robbing and such. I mean, the guy from that was in Omaha, Nebraska, I told you about this yesterday and earlier this morning. The dude they picked up in Nebraska, he was wanted for taking part in 5 murders in El Salvador.
It's a serial killer, Dan.
It's a serial killer, Jay.
Good Lord.
We're so uneducated. Yet she's the one calling those that voted for Donald Trump as dumb. You want another one? I think I've made my point, but I pulled the audio, so I might as well. Another one with Jasmine Crockett.
As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country?
So she says that people are being randomly kidnapped and sent to other countries. That's what she is saying. Clearly, obviously not what's happening. We are grabbing bad guys and gang members, and yes, some illegal aliens as well. We all know that. I already made that point. Not random folk. But this is the part that I want to focus on.
And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country?
So isn't that what's happening, actually? We got all these people coming in from we did have all these people from other countries coming into ours, and specifically Venezuela. Venezuela just did that, Jasmine Crockett, emptying their prisons and sending them here. We could also talk about all of the Chinese nationals that are here as well. Cuba did this, by the way, back in 1980 when Fidel Castro allowed 125,000 Cubans to migrate to the United States, including, by the way, 22,000 convicts. Yeah, that happened. And Venezuela basically has been doing the same thing. And here's another one.
A lot of my bills around fentanyl. I've done that with a number of, Republicans that have been like, oh no, like the border crisis, it's all the fentanyl and da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
Did she really just say
whatever?
Yeah, she did. She said whatever when it comes to the fentanyl crisis. The downplaying of the fentanyl crisis, which, by the way, I don't know what it currently is, but I would say to Jasmine Crockett that under the Biden administration, over 100,000 people a year died because of fentanyl that was coming over the border from your president's open border policy. But whatever. Fentanyl is still one of the top killers of young people in America. And she downplays it. So I'd have to ask the question, okay, so who exactly is uneducated? Is it the people that voted for Donald Trump, or is it you?
Whatever.
I would say that it's you. I got one more. Should I do one more? Let's do one more. We did do this earlier, but I want to, earlier this week, but I want to do it again. Jasmine Crockett being asked if she had ever really noticed anything off about Joe Biden.
Do you have concerns about the president's health and his mental acuity?
No.
None whatsoever.
I had none. Now, granted, I didn't see Joe Biden every single day, but
Now, that is important. I want you to remember that. When she says, now, granted, I didn't see Joe Biden every single day. All right, remember that statement.
None whatsoever.
I had none. Now, granted, I didn't see Joe Biden every single day, but I did have an opportunity to interact with the president. I never had a concern. If there's anyone that I am concerned about their mental acuity, it is the current occupant.
All right, so wait a minute. So now I'm confused. So do you see Donald Trump every day, Jasmine Crockett? Because you just said that you didn't see Joe Biden every day, but you never had a problem. Well, you don't see Donald Trump every day, and suddenly you do have a problem. Now, obviously, she's full of crap. I mean, Jasmine Crockett. I said at the time, did you ever watch TV? Did you ever listen to Joe Biden's speeches? Clearly, the American people had a problem and a big concern with Joe Biden. And so basically, she is doing what the Democrats have been doing, which is gaslighting the American people. And, for me, when, Crockett says something like that, my bottom line is
whatever.
By the way, did you see this? Very quickly, and then I'm done. Found out yesterday that polling shows that Representative Jasmine Crockett is at the forefront of likely Democrat voters' preferences for the Senate race in the 2026 midterms in the state of Texas. So, and I saw another report, but I can't seem to verify it. But there's another report that showed that she was actually beating John Cornyn, the senator in Texas who was up for re-election in 2026. So if you put all the polling together that is out there, she would win the Democrat primary in Texas for the Senate race. And then if she makes it to the general, there are some that are saying that she would even beat John Cornyn, the Republican. Now, I don't know if you buy that. I don't necessarily believe that I buy that, because I think the Cornyn is, in the state of Texas, a lot of people that love John Cornyn, but definitely, clearly something to watch. It is 6:53 on Nashville's Morning News. All right. Jay, what is going on in the news?
Well, Dan, of course, Texas has been in the news, sadly, for not good reasons, and the president will be visiting there today. It's also been 1 year since the assassination attempt on Mr. Trump in Pennsylvania, and a Middle Tennessee employer ceases operations a bit earlier than people thought they would. We've got that coming up at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here. You know, we've got some storms expected this weekend, and let's all be honest, it is Middle Tennessee. We get storms all the time. And some of those storms could end up destroying your roof. And my question to you for better part of a year now has been, under your current insurance policy, if your roof was destroyed in that storm, would they cover the cost, the full cost of that roof, the replacement cost? Now, if you don't know, you really do need to ask, because some insurance companies refuse to pay full replacement cost. They're deducting money for an older roof. This means that the insurance company is depreciating how much they pay for your roof claim. If you have an older roof, they're going to pay you less. Now, that means that when you go to buy a new roof, they're not covering the full replacement cost. That is going to leave you on the hook for thousands of dollars. Now, my friends at King & Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement cost. So whether you have to replace a 20-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they will pay for it to be replaced, period. It is that kind of focus on customer service that makes King & Associates Insurance one of the best insurance companies around. 615-329-8121. 615-329-8121. Get your royal review. tkinginsurance.com. .658, Nashville's Morning News. By the way, 2565 says, hey, Dan, Don't you wish that you could call her Jasmine Crocco? Shh.
Yeah, you do.
You know, it's so funny. So Chris and I recorded our very first podcast together yesterday.
Right. Did you curse?
Do you know what's so funny? I totally forgot.
Oh, because that was like the big thing.
Well, it was like 30 minutes. I don't even know. It's kind of funny because somebody asked me what we talked about, and I couldn't even, believe it or not, remember. But it's mostly peaceful with Dan and Chris. Yesterday was sort of a, like I said, our first time doing it. So by the end of it, which it goes 30 minutes, and we got like 4 or 5 different topics in. We're trying to do rapid fire, but totally forgot.
It's a trial and error process at the start.
A lot of error, at least on my part. Chris, of course, was fabulous. Me, we'll see. I don't even know if we're actually gonna post it. But I thought it went well. Chris thought it went well. We'll see if the powers that be decide to go ahead and put it up. What we talked about, I don't know, but I do remember that I forgot to call her Jasmine Crocco.
Next time.
I can almost guarantee you that she will come up. It is 7 o'clock on WTN.
Good morning. It is 7 a.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A weather forecast for the weekend and a traffic report are upcoming. President Trump expected to visit Central Texas today, where the agonizing search continues for over 150 people still missing, exactly 1 week after a wall of water rushed through homes there. The death toll reaching at least 120. Wall of water rushed through homes there. The death toll reaching at least 121. Here's ABC's Andrew Dimbert with more.
We're hearing more incredible stories of survival.
It's a miracle that we're alive.
The Snyder family narrowly survived after floodwaters swept their home off its foundation with them inside. They found shelter upstairs as the water washed away everything below. Doug and Libby Fuller found themselves floating on their mattress after they say 5 feet of water overtook their apartment.
The refrigerator was floating in the living room. There was furniture everywhere.
The pair holding onto a pillar for hours until the water receded.
This weekend marks 1 year since the brazen attempt to assassinate President Trump in Pennsylvania. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has more.
6 agents on duty at the rally have been suspended. 5 Philadelphia field agents, along with one of the women assigned to Trump's team. Meanwhile, the so-called Big Beautiful Bill is giving the Secret Service a nearly $1.2 billion bump in funding, allowing them to revamp their training, communications, and drone technology. Earlier reviews found lack of funding was not to blame for any failures in Pennsylvania. A previous review found the Secret Service failed to perform at the elite level required to protect then-nominee Trump.
After decades of operations and supplying hundreds of jobs in Rutherford County here in Middle Tennessee, Bridgestone has closed the doors of its facility in Laverne earlier than expected. Here's Channel 4's Lydia Fielder with more.
Bridgestone has officially shut down its Laverne plant nearly a month earlier than expected now. The company originally planned to close July 31st, but did it on the 2nd instead. Employees were notified through a letter. Workers will still receive pay and benefits through the end of the month. The United Steelworkers Union says it's heading back to the bargaining table next week in Knoxville to negotiate severance there, and says Bridgestone said there would be enough work through July. The company is partnering with the local agencies to help former employees find new jobs.
The closure affects 658 workers. The Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. They are online at beaconcm.com. Looking at futures ahead of the opening bell, the Dow down 244, the S&P's down 30.5, and the NASDAQ down 91.5. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. First responders still trying to clear out these couple of crashes that we've had for a little bit here. Central Pike east of Tulip Grove Road, that is in the Hermitage area, and over in Antioch. Murfreesboro Pike at Hobson Pike, and the slowdowns at the 6524 Burge north of the city there near Trinity Lane. Also coming down 65 southbound from Millersville and on Vietnam Vets headed toward 65. Backups there as well. And then, of course, headed into town for Murfreesboro. You'll sit in some traffic on 24 West. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.707 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And welcome on into a Friday, July 11th. So the mayoral candidate in New York, Zoran Mamdani, the Democrats are having a really, really hard time figuring out how to deal with this guy. And so, Mamdani, one of the things that he is he is unapologetically socialist. And the more that we find out about him, the worse it looks for the Democrats. And the more that we find out about him, the harder time the Democrats are having answering the reporters' questions about him. For example, there's Chuck Schumer.
Does that risk distracting Democrats from taking back the House and Senate? The bottom line is Democrats are united. We are fighting the high costs that American people pay.
Okay.
We are fighting the health care cuts Republicans are making. We are fighting the horrible bill that they just passed.
Okay.
Democrats are united, and we have been far more united, frankly, than the Republicans.
So in other words, but the question was, why haven't you endorsed Mamdani? That was the question. And he hasn't endorsed Mamdani. And so and he had been asked the question like twice. And so then that was his answer, and he walked away. Now, I have not heard this piece of audio yet, again, talking about Zoran Mamdani. And, this is a guy who is problematic for the Democrats. He's not really problematic for the Republicans in the sense that, okay, so if this guy wins, then we can say clearly this is where the Democrat Party is going. Democrat Representative James Clyburn is all in on Mamdani, pledging his support for the communist candidacy in New York City. I want to play this audio for you. This is James Clyburn, who, to be honest with you, knowing what I know about James Clyburn, not really surprising.
At this point, do you support Mamdani's candidacy as the Democratic nominee for mayor of New York?
Absolutely, I do. I support Democratic nominees. The fact of the matter is, my relationship with Cuomo goes back to when he was Secretary of HUD, and the South Carolina
That's a funny thing about James Clyburn.
One of those empowerment zones,
right.
Because of his help. It happens to be Sumter, Columbia empowerment zone.
So here and here's part of the story and part of the context with this. James Clyburn was the one that through his support, and he's an important guy he's black, and he's an important guy within the Democrat Party. And it was his support, as he is a South Carolina representative, a Democrat, of course. And he threw his weight behind Joe Biden, and that galvanize the black support for Joe Biden. And then look what that ended up doing. That ended up with Joe Biden, air quote, winning the election in 2020. And then we all know what that ultimately turned into. 4 years of living hell for most Americans. And so if this is on, I guess it's on MSNBC. So this is on CNN. So CNN asking James Clyburn if he throws his support behind Mamdani there in New York. And he says, absolutely. Well, can we look at, what his support has done to America before? It did. It gave us Joe flippin' Biden.
Just to be clear, you support Mamdani's running, or I guess his position as the Democratic primary winner. Is that an endorsement? Are you endorsing him as mayor of New York City?
I support the Democratic nominee. He is the nominee.
So there you go. That is James Clyburn. The Democrats do have a Mamdani problem, and I don't want to dwell on this, but the Democrats do have a Mamdani problem, and they don't really know how to deal with it. They certainly do not know how to deal with it, and I think it's just kind of fun to watch as they sit around and they are twisting in the wind, and they continue to twist in the wind. And the Democrats, they don't really want Mamdani to win in New York as mayor of New York. They truly don't. All right, now moving on to other things. Tom Homan. Illegal immigration is always in the news today and every day. So there was in Ventura, and I mentioned this briefly earlier, there is a property in Ventura, California, outside of Los Angeles. And apparently it's like a drug farm. And apparently they were posing as a regular farm, but they were, doing drugs and all that kind of stuff there. And word is they actually had migrant labor there, illegal alien labor, and they also had kids there. And so the authorities, of course, ICE, show up, and you've got all these people throwing rocks at the vehicle. If you want to check it out, the video is on my X feed at Dan Mandis Show. And you have now all of these people. And I spoke about this earlier, and I'm with you where you say, why exactly is it that, the ICE officers, they can't shoot these people? The emotional part of me, when they're taking rocks and they're throwing them as hard as they can against these ICE vehicles, then you think, why can't they just shoot them? Well, you can't, because you can't, unless your life is in danger, I don't believe that you should shoot to kill people who are simply throwing rocks, right? So that's number one. But you know what? They can certainly arrest them. And somebody was asking me on the super text line, why can't they just arrest these people? Take a baton to the head. Wouldn't it feel good to see that? Yeah, it would. But you know what? You know what the problem is? We don't have enough room. How sad is it that in the United States of America today, we actually do not have the room for all of the lawbreakers? We don't have room. That's why we have alligator Alcatraz, and that's why we've got to put up, facilities all across the country, because we have run out of room. But Tom Homan says, you know what? We may be running out of room. We may have all of these people going bat crap crazy, but Tom Homan says, we're not going to stop. I've got that audio coming up. It is 7:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. Thank you very much. 7:15. As far as your weather goes, today, high of 92, scattered thunderstorms. Saturday, high of 94, scattered showers. And on Sunday, high of 94, thunderstorms in the evening. And appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. A couple of stories in the news as far as headlines go. There are reports that the Trump administration may be considering just ignoring these radical judges that are trying to stop Donald Trump from deporting all of these bad guys. Just, you know what? Just to heck with them. To heck with them. We're just going to do what we're going to do. And what are they going to do? Arrest us? So that's part of the storyline this morning, is that the Trump administration is considering I don't know to what level, but considering just ignoring the judges that are trying to block their immigration policies. We do have the likes of Karen Bass and others. Karen Bass, of course, the mayor of Los Angeles, and others who are demanding that the president and ICE and the Department of Homeland Security, et cetera, stop with their deportations and stop with, coming into the communities and arresting gang members and so forth. And Tom Homan says, you know what? They can complain all they want. They can throw all the judges they want at us, but we're not going to stop.
Obviously, he's ignoring the Supreme Court just made that decision. I mean, these radical judges, district court judges, district court judges are making national decisions, putting rulings in place for the entire country. Supreme Court just settled this issue. So, look, we're going to litigate it. We'll get beyond it. It's just really pathetic where people are trying so hard to stop the Trump agenda that American people voted for. The reason he's sitting in the White House because of the immigration push we're doing right now, both on the border and interior. Now, today, we got the most secure border in the history of this nation because of President Trump. But we got to stop these radical judges and put nationwide injunctions. The Supreme Court's ruled on this. He's obviously ignoring it. So once again, we got DOJ have to litigate this and shut it down. They've sent a clear message. This cannot happen.
Yep.
Tom, what the Supreme Court said was if a district judge finds a class is affected and harmed, that class can obtain an injunction, which is what this judge in New Hampshire said.
Yeah. Well, we know they're going to push that button. We know they're going to use every tool they can to stop the Trump agenda. They're not going to stop us. What they need to understand is ICE is going to be on the street every day across this country. We got 1,000 teams on the street today. We have 1,000 teams tomorrow. We're going to keep arresting them. And bottom line is, if we can't remove them quickly, then we're going to detain them. The only option that's not available, a criminal alien threat, a national security illegal alien threat, was not going to walk the streets of this country. We'll detain them, and we'll litigate the removals.
Yep, there you go. That is Tom Homan, of course, always talking tough, as he should. Now, the Daily Dan poll, we have put a Daily Dan poll up today. You can watch us, by the way, on YouTube and also X, Facebook, and also 997WTN.com, and now Rumble. So if you want to go to Rumble, 997WTN, I still, even though I love that we're finally on Rumble, I still prefer that you watch us on YouTube because you can take the Daily Dan poll. Also, we've got the whole chat thing going on, which is, its own culture there on YouTube. So, but we do have the poll. Today's poll, KGB, remind me what it is.
Is the Comey investigation a distraction, a purposeful distraction from the Epstein case? And right now we're at 56% yes to 44% no.
All right, I love that. So
it started off with no being in the lead, too. It's very rare we get the ones that just actually change.
Well, I think part of that is because it just seems like the James Comey, John Brennan thing, it did kind of come out of nowhere. And it did come out of nowhere right at the most opportune. It
happened pretty quickly.
The most opportune time for the Trump administration when they were trying to distract their supporters from what was going on with Epstein, which, by the way, there is news on the Epstein case as well. Now, I do love the fact that, and I don't want to go on and on about this story today. It's not part of my official show prep, but I love the fact that the FBI is launching criminal probes into John Brennan and James Comey, because I think that most people who are listening right now to WTN understand what they tried to do. I went through this in great detail. I think it was like yesterday or the day before. Basically, what they did was they facilitated the dirty dossier. That, of course, morphs into the Mueller investigation, John Brennan lying to Congress about his intentions. And do I really think they're going to go to jail? Probably not. But I would like to see them twist in the wind. I loved they were talking to Senator John Kennedy out of Louisiana, and I love what he said about these two, James Comey and John Brennan. Listen.
Well, I know Mr. Comey, and I know Mr. Brennan. Neither one of them, in my opinion, should attempt more than 6 of the 10 commandments. They're not very nice people. They're not ethical people. I know people who have worked with them closely, And if you talk to people who've worked with them closely, those people will tell you that they're about as popular as male pattern baldness. What's scary about both of them is that they think that they're competent. They're not. I would hire the guy who salts the fries at McDonald's before I would hire either one of them. But they think they're competent. They think they're smarter and more virtuous than the rest of us, and they acted on their political beliefs. Brennan, for example, Mr. Brennan was one of the ones who told the American people that the Hunter Biden laptop wasn't real, that it was Russian disinformation. They're just not honest people, and if they broke the law, they should be held accountable. They're also just, they're like so many in Washington, Harris. They're so arrogant. Lyndon Johnson used to have an expression. He'd say, that guy's so arrogant, he could strut sitting down. Well, that's the way Mr. Comey and Mr. Brennan are. Those two have done more to destroy the American people's confidence in the FBI and national intelligence than any two people I can think of.
I mean, he is absolutely right. He is absolutely spot on, John Kennedy. And we could go through all of the things with the FBI. We could talk about Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. We could talk about that, the lovebirds, all of the text messages that we all covered for months and months. And so I don't need to get into all of that. But suffice to say, we'll see what happens. If and you heard Kennedy talk about how they could strut sitting down. The fact that James Comey, even just a month or so ago with that 8647 shell formation on the beach, remember that whole story? You just want to bring these people down a few pegs. I would even be satisfied with that. However, I do believe that they should be investigated. They are being investigated, and I would absolutely love to see them go to jail. It is 7:22 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super text line, very active today, and I appreciate that. A couple of things. Real quick. A couple of people yelling at me about rocks. Why don't you shoot people that are throwing rocks at you? Rocks can kill. David killed Goliath with a rock. They're throwing rocks at the vehicles that are driving. Okay, so that's the point that I was making, is that they're throwing rocks and bricks at the vehicles. And so I don't think that would be good PR if they turned around and started shooting people from a moving vehicle, from the safety of a moving vehicle as they're driving away. But maybe that's just me. So that's number one. Number two, I do still believe that those people do need to be punished. And 5252 says, Dan, why do you say the Democrats don't really want Mamdani to win mayor in New York? How do you know that? Well, because I know politics, fairly well. And so the Democrats at the national level, like the Chuck Schumers and the Hakeem Jeffries, they don't want Mamdani to win because his policies are so radical that the vast majority of Americans don't support them. And so if he ends up winning the mayor of New York, he ends up being the mayor of New York, then that gives the Republicans the ability to say, look at the direction of the Democrat Party. Look at the direction that they're going in. They're absolute socialists, from, government-owned grocery stores to defunding the police and all of these things that Mamdani stands for that are incredibly unpopular with the American people. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe that there's a lot of Democrats who privately want him to win, but from a PR standpoint, from a pure political standpoint, they don't want to give the Republicans that ammunition where we can say, and I will say, look at the direction that the Democrat Party is going towards, total socialism with the election of a Democratic socialist or communist, whatever you want to say, this Mamdani in New York. That does give the Republicans a great talking point. And 5252, I really appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. It is 7:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jay Harper is in the WTN newsroom with the latest at 7:30. Jay.
Yeah, Dan, crews continue to have the arduous task of sifting through debris in Texas. And is President Trump reconsidering some tariffs? And still a standoff in Clarksville. We'll have that for you at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay. DT McCall's Dan Mandis here. Of course, a great Tennessee company. They are here for their fellow Tennesseans with great prices, selection, and value. Now, I've been telling you for years about DT McCall's. They've been helping out people for 3 generations, and if you need it, they've got it. Whether it is indoor furniture, maybe some appliances, some outdoor furniture as well. DT McCall's, they are here to help you. Not only do they have great selection, they also have great prices, and they are here for you for whatever you need. And by the way, they have been for over 100 years. Go to the front page of their website, dtmccalls.com. They've got specials on pretty much everything in the store. Anything you want, the best brands of appliances like washer and dryer sets, dishwashers, and a whole lot more, dtmccalls.com. And by the way, if you buy it, they will deliver it for free and haul away the old stuff. 5 locations across Middle Tennessee, Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, and Franklin. Always online, dtmccalls.com.
How would you like to have Jesus Christ pray for you? Did you know that Jesus Christ does pray for you if you're a Christian? Hebrews 7:25 says, "Therefore he is able also to save forever those who draw near to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them." In Scripture, intercession means to pray on behalf of. Jesus Christ is your advocate. An advocate comes to our aid or pleads our case to a judge, offering support and counsel and interceding for us when necessary. In other verses, Jesus calls the Holy Spirit our advocate. Just like you talk to yourself, when Jesus talks to himself, it's prayer. The Bible says no matter what you go through today, next week, or next year, Jesus is praying for you if you have trusted him as your Savior. He's on your side.
728 on WTN. Dan Mandis here for my friends at Contours. They're my friends because they helped me lose a couple of inches across the middle. Those famous belly buster specials at Contours, they can help you lose inches across the middle, that ugly body fat that you don't like. They can help you with these belly buster specials. You want to take advantage of the Contours red light technology. It is not only incredibly unique, but it is also effective. It's cutting-edge technology, as a matter of fact. And right now, they are offering their summer special right now. The first 10 callers do get that $99 special from Contours at 615-236-9960. Red light technology, it really is incredible. You want to go to their website and find out how it all works. It is contoursllc.com, and you'll see not only how it works, you'll see some testimonials there as well. And right now, for only $99, you can get one of those belly buster specials. It is the summer special from Contours. You call right now, 615-236-9960, and take advantage of that red light technology. It is cutting edge. It is unique. It is effective. And they are waiting for your call right now. 615-236-9960. Find them online, contoursllc.com.
Good morning, it's 7:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A traffic report and a weather forecast for your weekend are coming up. Crews are digging through feet of debris to try and locate over 160 people that are still missing in the tragic storm floods in Texas that occurred exactly 1 week ago. ABC's Trevor Alt is in Kerrville, Texas.
Residents begin returning with those deadly waters now receded. One couple surviving by hanging onto a pillar just outside their door.
We just held on for a couple more hours.
Finding their wedding rings in the debris.
And there appears to be some wiggle room in the Trump administration's August 1st deadline to impose tariffs on some countries. Listen to Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He's at the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. The foreign ministerial meetings in Malaysia are occurring there.
The baseline will take effect the 1st of August, but obviously, as the president's made clear, there are opportunities for adjustments based on arrangements that could be made between now and then.
Back here in Tennessee, the Clarksville Police Department attempting to negotiate with a man who's barricaded himself inside a home on Pat Drive. The police there say the man's children are also inside that home with him. The man's wife, she was able to get out of the home safely. The barricade situation began around 2 o'clock this morning. Police have set up a perimeter around the home. This is in the 600 block of Pat Drive in Clarksville. And the police are asking folks in the immediate area to stay indoors if possible. Also, Pat Drive is closed to traffic near the scene and will remain so until they can get this situation resolved safely. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Thank you, Jay. It's 7:32. Dan Mandis here. You know, the weather in Middle Tennessee, it can get insane, which is why you need a backup home standby generator. From my friends at the Generator Supercenter, we're supposed to get some storms this weekend. I mean, I don't know about you, but if you've ever been, their power in your neighborhood has been knocked out, you never know when it's going to come back up. I've been there, done that. You need a backup home standby generator. So when those times happen, when the power is out in your neighborhood, your power will be back on thanks to your backup home standby generator from my friends at the Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. Get a free quote and get peace of mind when you have one installed. They do feature expert installation and 24-hour monitoring that's not going to leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Call them 615-879-1952. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-879-1952. The website, GeneratorSupercenterofNashville.com. $734. Now I'll go. Now? Okay, now. 734, Nashville's Morning News. Mark Spain Real Estate. Listen, it is July, of course, summer. So if you're thinking about selling your home right now is the time. With Mark Spain Real Estate and their guaranteed offer, you can sell your home quickly and for maximum value. Make the most of your summer by selling your home with the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain. You can skip all the hassles of a traditional home sale and sell your home quickly without the stress of showings, open houses, and those costly repairs. Now, Mark Spain Real Estate's guaranteed all-cash offer allows you to sell your home in as little as 21 days and move when you're ready. With over 13,000 five-star reviews, you can trust the top real estate team in America to sell your home stress-free for the most money. Call them at 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD. Find them online anytime. It is markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. That's markspain.com and start packing.
Well, we have got a mess on I-40 eastbound and westbound on the off-ramp there at exit 211. We've got an overturned vehicle westbound, and the fire department, they're blocking things on the eastbound side, too. So just that whole area, again, this is I-40 east and westbound. In the vicinity of exit 211, we've got an overturned vehicle, and both sides of the interstate are blocked off right now. We've also got a crash blocking some of the roadway 24 eastbound just before exit 50A and B. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.38, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. This is the headline real quick. I got a couple of things I want to do in this segment. Number two is going to be bad news for Democrats as far as some polling goes. But I do want to speak a little bit about this too. Headline from the Daily Mail, Insider blows a lid on sickening scandal at the heart of Camp Mystic tragedy as haunting messages are revealed. So one of the things that I said a couple of days ago, because remember that the left kept trying to say, well, Donald Trump, gutted the National Weather Service, and so the warnings didn't go out. And so, of course, that was debunked almost immediately. Not only did the National Weather Service have enough people there, but they had more people there. And there was also, AccuWeather and so forth. And they showed that all of the alerts went out. And one of the things that I said, I think it was on the first day, is that the alerts can go out, but if everybody's asleep and nobody's watching the alerts, well, then you're not going to be warned because nobody is paying attention. And that might be what we see here. A top weather expert claims the young girls swept away in Texas July 4th flooding tragedy might still be alive if local officials had heeded their early warning. Remember, you can send the alerts out as the National Weather Service did and AccuWeather did, but if nobody is awake to see them, then they go unnoticed. AccuWeather chief meteorologist Jonathan Porter revealing to the Daily Mail the true extent of the scandal surrounding Camp Mystic. The meteorologists there saying their forecasters sent out an alert of life-threatening floods 30 minutes before the National Weather Service. The 12:44 a.m. Central Time warning specifically targeted Hunt, Texas, home to the Christian Girls Summer Camp, and urgently stated flooding is imminent and water may rapidly flood streets, streams, and low-lying areas, they said. And National Weather Service also put out a flooding emergency alert as well. AccuWeather said, stay away from areas prone to flooding and do not enter floodwaters as sinkholes, washouts, or swift currents might be present. Be prepared to move to higher ground quickly, the alert concluded. AccuWeather officials also confirmed that their warnings regularly arrive faster than other forecasting services and were available to all government agencies before the storm. And so the bottom line to this article is that nobody was awake to see the AccuWeather alerts, and nobody was awake to see the National Weather Service alerts. And I think that that's what you're going to find. President Trump, I think President Trump is in Texas today, as a matter of fact. They say, although the AccuWeather forecaster Porter admitted that the late night timing of the storm likely played a role in the inaction on the ground, there was still 3 hours before rising floodwaters from the overflowing Guadalupe River peaked in Hunt around 4:30 a.m. And basically what they say is you can't go to sleep and be responsible for the safety of large numbers of people. That's going to be the big question here in turn. And this is what I said days ago, is that if you're a camp counselor and people are hurting, and I don't want to sound insensitive, but we do need to make sure that this doesn't happen again. We're seeing flooding all across. We had some flooding in Georgia the other day. And so bottom line is that if storms are expected, somebody's got to stay awake. Somebody's got to be awake to sound the alarm. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you and tell you a little bit of the behind the scenes here is that when we have, storms expected, like tornadic activity, that kind of a thing, there's four of us, right? There's me and, five of us now. There's me, Brian, Chad, Chris, and Matt. And one of us is always awake when the storms are going to be, predicted. And Ken Weaver and Joan, we all participate. And so when there's storms that are expected that could turn into tornadoes, one of us is always awake, making sure that we're able to see these warnings and we're watching the radar so that we don't fall down on the job. And that's what they need to do at these, campgrounds and so forth, is that if there's flooding expected or if there are, maybe tornadoes expected, tornadoes are a little different because you can have tornado watches, you can have tornado warnings, but you never know when they're going to pop up. But I mean, flooding, you know where it floods. I mean, this exact same area has flooded, 4 or 5 times over the last, 100 years or whatever it's been. So the areas that are going to flood. And when you have these warnings that came out, but nobody's heeding the warnings, then sadly that is when tragedy strikes. And the whole point is that we need to make sure one way or another that we're able to tell what's going to happen and that somebody is awake. And if somebody sees all of these alerts, then they get everybody up and they get them to higher ground or they get them out of there, whatever they need to do. Because the next time we need to ensure that lives are saved. It is 7:45, coming up on 7:45 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The headline from the Hill, new poll delivers troubling signs for Democrats. Details straight ahead. Time to check the roads on WTN. All right, it's 7:45. As far as your weather goes, it is going to be a hot, sticky, and rainy weekend. Weather today, a high of 92, scattered thunderstorms. On Saturday, high 94, scattered showers. And on Sunday, a high of 94, thunderstorms in the evening. And by the way, that is 94 degrees. And the feels-like temperature is going to mean it's upper towards, 100 degrees and so forth. Triple digits, right? Triple digits. It's going to be a tough weekend. All right, headline. New poll delivers troubling signs for Democrats. Here's what it says. Because, if you watch the mainstream media, they will tell you, oh, the Republicans are in trouble. Oh, the American people hate the big, beautiful bill. Oh, the American people can't stand all of these deportations. Well, the Democratic Party, and this is from The Hill. I'm telling you, The Hill is not some, a right-wing publication by any stretch of the imagination. They say the Democratic Party's credibility with voters has plummeted even further since the 2024 election, raising alarm bells as the party looks to rebuild ahead of the midterm elections and the next presidential election, according to a new poll obtained by The Hill. The poll, which was conducted between May and June by Unite the Country, a Democratic super PAC, shows that voters perceive the Democratic Party as out of touch, woke, and weak. And remember, this is recent polling. This is not, back in, 2024, right after we had the election. This is in more recent months. They say the party has seen its support erode with white men, Hispanic men, and that's huge, working class voters across the board, with approval ratings sitting below 35% across those demographics. And enthusiasm within the party continues to wane. In the wake of 2024, the poll revealed this is the reality of the perception of us as a party, and until we accept that, it's going to be hard to move forward, says Democratic strategist Rodel Milinho, who serves as senior advisor to the super PAC. There is a perception out there, outside of Democratic elites, and it's taken hold in not just the MAGA crowd, but people that should be with us. I mean, that's true. Fourth, when they say that it's an awful bill, when the reality is there's going to be a whole bunch of tax breaks for people, that is a good thing. And Democrats, again, it's this reflexive TDS. Yesterday during the podcast I was doing with Chris, and hopefully they'll put it up today or tomorrow, but I've been talking about how TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, it is a good thing. And I said it during the podcast, Mostly Peaceful with Dan and Chris. And so TDS is a great thing for the Republican Party. The reason why TDS is a great thing for the Republican Party is because the Democrats have these absolutely obscene, and I mean obscene, reactions to everything the Republicans do. I've got an example. Jessica Tarloff. She is, of course, she's on the 5, and she was there with Greg Gutfeld and Jesse Waters, and she threw down a hot take, which was a steaming pile of BS, actually. But this is what she said on the 5, basically saying that ICE agents and law enforcement in the detention centers where they're keeping illegal aliens, they're sexually assaulting the people that are in there.
What is going on with this immigration policy is not what people showed up on November 5th for. I know there are some folks out there are pictures of those grannies that had those signs that says mass deportation now.
What about you bring up something as charged as sexual abuse?
Yep. Yeah.
Who is causing the sexual abuse? Is it the people running the detention center are raping the detainees?
You've never heard of that happening, or they're abusing them?
Because I want to be clear that that's what you're alluding to.
That's what the report
So people that are running the detainee center are sexually abusing.
I don't have video of what was happening. I just know that they are seeing an increased amount of 911 calls saying that people
All right, so pretty scandalous accusations, right? And if this is happening, we should know. And so I did go looking for that report that Jessica Tarloff was speaking of, because, I mean, obviously these things do happen where you have people that are in jails and prisons and so forth, that does happen where they are assaulted by the people running the prison. That does happen. But I wanted to know specifically what the heck Jessica Tarloff was talking about specifically as it related to Donald Trump and these ICE detention centers. And so the only thing that I could find was this report from Wired.
Regional 911, where's your emergency?
You speak Spanish? No, ma'am. I understand English. I need help. I need help. Ayuda.
A Wired investigation into 911 calls from 10 of the nation's largest ICE detention centers found that serious medical incidents are rising. Since January, these facilities have made nearly 400 emergency calls.
Well, no crap, Sherlock. You know why that is? It's because there's a lot more people in these detention centers. That's why you're seeing more calls. And Tarlov, she focused on the allegations of sexual assault, accusing staff at these centers of sexually assaulting those being held. I want you to listen very closely to this.
Cardiac episodes, seizures, head injuries, suicide attempts, sexual abuse.
Right.
Experts say the real number of medical crises inside the walls of these centers is likely much higher.
Right. And again, it's because there's a lot of people there in those detention centers. But I want you to go to my X feed at Dan Mandis Show, scroll down a little bit, and I went ahead and I posted this report from Wired. Because nowhere does it say, at least that I could find, that people that are guarding these illegal aliens in these detention centers, the ones that are working for the detention centers, are sexually harassing or sexually assaulting the people inside. It doesn't say that. And, you know, it is amazing because this is Fox News and this is The View, not The View. This is The Five and this is Fox News. And so you would think that if she's going to bring those accusations, that she'd bring the receipts. But she didn't.
The system is stretched to its limit, and to cope, ICE is offloading detainees into federal prisons and tent-like camps, while issuing no-bid contracts to private prison giants like Geo Group and Core Civic. Dispatch records show how fast medical crises spiral inside these overcrowded remote facilities.
Right. And it's a sad day in America. And I said this earlier, it is a sad day in America when we simply don't have the facilities to house all of these illegal aliens. And a lot of these folks are, you know, gangbangers and so forth. And we don't have the facilities to hold them. And so we're simply running out of room. And then, of course, we have these judges that are trying to block everything the president does, and on then it goes. So I think the American people are looking at, you know, the ridiculous things that, say, for example, that Jessica Tarloff says, which is that, you know, the ICE security in these detention centers is sexually accosting and raping the people that are inside, when that's actually not what the report says. That's number one. Number two, the American people, by and large, they're seeing what is happening in these cities all across America where ICE is going in, trying to get out these bad guys, and they're getting, I mean, obviously pushback is too light of a word. They're getting rocks thrown at them, and they're getting attacked. They're getting assaulted. ICE agents are, and the Democrats, they're literally not saying a word about it. There is no pushback from the Democrat Party when ICE is being doxxed, they're being harassed, they are being shot at, they're being ambushed, and Democrats have nothing to say. Absolutely nothing to say. And so people like Jessica Tarloff, they're and by the way, here's the other thing, just real quick, is that she's hand-wringing over the sexual assault of illegal aliens in these ICE detention centers, which I don't know. She didn't bring any receipts, so I don't know if that's happening. But where was Jessica Tarloff? And Jesse Waters brought up this point. Where was Jessica Tarloff and the Democrats when we saw all of these kids, you know, being disappeared? Where was Jessica Tarloff and the Democrats when all of these women were being raped with all of these illegal aliens? And where was Jessica Tarloff when American citizens and women were being killed and raped at the hands of these illegal aliens? Where were they? Oh, I know. She was, and they were nowhere to be found. It is 7:55, and Jay Harper has the news coming up at 8. Jay.
Yeah, Dan, crews continue to sift through debris in Texas, and a country music singer involved in a fatal pedestrian accident here in Nashville is facing charges. We'll have those stories and more at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay. It's 7:55. Dan Mandis here for the HVAC company that I've been using for over a decade. Busy Bee, plumbing, heating, and cooling. Now, the thing that I've always loved is their mission to provide great service and save you money every month. They've got new specials. Now, this month, here in the month of July, save big time on Busy Bee's smart Wi-Fi water shutoff valve, only $12.49 this month. You buy a whole new HVAC system, you get a free air duct fogging and UV light home treatment. If you've got plumbing problems, Busy Bee has the answers as well. $500 off of a Halo 5 whole home filtration system, or $1,000 off whole home water and drain line replacements. Now, with Busy Bee, the savings go on and on and on. And by the way, if you need some help, you need some financing, how about 0% for 18 months with approved credit and payments as low as $100 a month? Check them out online. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. BusyBeeHVAC.com, 615-775-7833.
Jesus came to earth the first time to save the world. The next time he comes will be to condemn the world and those who have refused to accept him as their Lord and Savior. Christians are co-heirs with Christ and possess full rights as sons and inherit salvation, eternal life, the earth, the kingdom of God, and all things. If you're not a Christian and have wondered about eternal life, God may be drawing you. Accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, for only God can save you.
No matter what I've ever done.
What I've ever done.
No matter what I've ever done.
No matter what you've ever done.
But what about?
No matter what you've ever done.
Even if?
You are no longer condemned, no matter what you have ever done. Non-cancelable, guaranteed reservation in heaven when you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Learn how now.
It's 8 o'clock, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We have a Jeffrey Epstein update, even from the update that I gave a couple of hours ago. That and a whole lot more is straight ahead right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 8 a.m. and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories, the weekend weather forecast, and a traffic report. We've got a mess over on I-40. We'll tell you about that here in just a bit. Crews are digging through feet of debris to try and locate 160 people that are still missing from the tragic storm floods in Texas that occurred exactly 1 week ago. ABC's Trevor Alt is in Kerrville, Texas, with news of a presidential visit there today.
President Trump and the First Lady will be meeting with emergency responders and grieving families, and he will also likely face questions about the response to this tragedy. He's so far only had praise for the government's response. He's referred to this flooding as a once in every 200 years event.
Heading out west now, a California man, 40-year-old Greg Jackson, is under arrest in Sonoma County for being a fake cop. ABC's Cornell Barnard has more.
Jackson was reportedly using a vehicle outfitted with red and blue emergency lights, similar to those on legit police cars. Investigators say he was identifying himself as a bounty hunter. The sheriff's department tells ABC News Jackson from Santa Rosa was out on felony pretrial release on concealed weapons charges, adding, during a search of his home and vehicle, they found several items that falsely identified him as a police officer.
Back here in Nashville, the country music singer who struck and killed a 77-year-old pedestrian in Germantown is now being charged with a misdemeanor. News 2's Bob Mueller has more.
Metro Police say country music artist Connor Smith is facing charges connected with the death of a woman hit by his truck in Germantown back on June 8th. Investigators say Smith struck 77-year-old Dorothy Dobbins as she was in a marked crosswalk on 3rd Avenue North. Now, police say Smith did stop and try to help until paramedics arrived. Dobbins later died at the hospital. Smith is now charged with failure to yield the right-of-way, resulting in death, a Class A misdemeanor. Officers say they found no evidence of impairment or distracted driving from him. He is to appear in court on August the 7th.
News 2 also reports a man has barricaded himself inside a home in Clarksville with his kids. Early this morning, police established a perimeter around 680 Pat Drive at about 2:30 this morning. The situation began as domestic related before the man's wife was able to get out of the house safely. It's not known exactly how many kids are inside the home. Police are continuing to negotiate with the barricaded man. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. Well, if you're on 40 westbound or eastbound near the split, yeah, you're sitting there wondering what's going on. Well, we've had a tractor trailer crash and turned over, caught fire, completely blocking the off-ramp to westbound 40 from eastbound 40. Here we're at exit 211. Both sides of the interstate are blocked. You've got emergency vehicles on the eastbound side there. They're blocking the road as they're trying to deal with this overturned truck. So just know, I'm looking at traffic cameras, 40 westbound, backed up all the way to the airport. It's also affecting 24. It's a thing. Also, we've got Hermitage Avenue eastbound between Lindsley Avenue and Driftwood Street. That is closed due to a severe crash there. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.807, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you being here. Hope you're doing well. And I saw this on the socials. Now, I hope this isn't true. But then again, I kind of hope it is. But I'm seeing on the socials, in a seismic overnight event already sending shockwaves through elite social circles, a rogue hacker known only as Island Boy has breached a protected internal media server and released the full Epstein associate list. I don't know if that's true or not, and there was another article, and I thought it was interesting. There's another article from the Washington Examiner, and what it said is that MAGA, because you know what they like to do is they like to just, all Trump supporters are just, this big monolith known as MAGA, right? MAGA. They're angry at Pam Bondi, but they're sparing Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. Really? I don't necessarily know if that's true. Because I happen to know a lot of people within MAGA, and there's a lot of ire towards the three of them. But I think the reasoning behind folks so angry at Pam Bondi is because she's the one that said that they're sitting on my desk, and so I think that might be why, but not to belabor the point for a third day in a row, but Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Pam Bondi, the three of them have been spending years talking big and how if they, these files, the Epstein list, they have to be released, they have to be released. There's a cover-up, there's a cover-up, there's a cover-up, only to get into the Trump administration and nothing. And then they say, well, there's no list. I don't think it wouldn't be that big of a deal, except that, like, for Bongino and for Kash Patel, this was like a big part of their brand. I mean, it was like never ending. So anyway, we'll have to see what happens. There is, by the way, and I don't know if that is true or not, the Epstein information where the server was hacked and has been released. I don't know if that's true or not. I have seen that on X, but I have not seen that in the overall scope of the media. But a couple of things going on. Number one, Alan Dershowitz made headlines last night. He was on with Sean Spicer, and he says, yes, I actually do know. Dershowitz says, I do know who is on the list.
So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them, but I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know.
Well, he should know, because remember, he was accused I mean, I think his name was actually on some official list somewhere, but he was actually accused, Alan Dershowitz was, of some pretty creepy things way back when. And I've got more on that in a second. There's also some very big news regarding a FOIA request that was made by Judicial Watch, and some big, big news this morning on that, but more from Alan Dershowitz.
But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them, and that's wrong.
Just out of curiosity, without names, are these politicians, business leaders, both?
They're everything. And let me tell you, a lot of them are, at least one of them is somebody who was accused. Others are accusers. And the judges have said, if somebody calls themselves a victim, we're not going to give any information about them. But they may not be victims. They may be perpetrators. So we don't have information about false accusers. And we know there have been many false accusers who have accused innocent people for money. And those records are being deliberately, willfully suppressed. And they shouldn't be suppressed. If the accusation is allowed out, so should the material that diminishes the credibility of the accuser. We want total transparency on this.
Yeah, so there's a number of things to talk about with Alan Dershowitz, again, making big news. But that is a big question. I spoke a lot about this a couple of hours ago. So you want to put out this list, but my concern is there's going to be unproven allegations included in that list. So, for example, and I, again, used this example earlier, if you've got like a John Doe, in Philadelphia, and there is some, unsubstantiated allegations, there maybe was an accusation without any proof, without any receipts, do you want that person's name to be included in such a release? Because we all know that that person's life will be destroyed. And if that person's life is destroyed because, his name just appeared in this list for whatever reason, maybe it's a paralegal that worked with Alan Dershowitz. Remember, Dershowitz was Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer. And so what if a lawyer or maybe a paralegal, whatever, was, invited to the house, went over to Epstein Island, whatever it is, and he didn't do anything, but his name ends up in these files because it was written down or it was in some sort of a correspondence. That dude's life is now ruined. So I am very conflicted because there's somebody that could be, implicated here, but they didn't actually do anything wrong. Guilt by association. You heard Dershowitz say in that audio that there have been many false accusers. So some guy falsely, wrongly accused, his name is out there and no corroborating evidence, but his life is ruined because his name was released without the proper context. And then it just becomes some sort of a witch hunt. He's on the list, but okay, but what is the actual story behind it? So that is a concern. Now, on the other side is there might be within those files somebody whose name has been out there and has been leaked, or maybe it was in some of the previous releases, somebody's name is there, and there might be some exculpatory evidence in the files. So that could also be a positive, where if John Doe in Philadelphia, we found out in a release 5, 6, 7 years ago, oh my gosh, John Doe in Philadelphia, his name's on the list. But there's no context that was there. Well, part of what Dershowitz is saying is that, okay, so you release all the material because there could be some exculpatory evidence, some evidence that would clear John Doe in Philadelphia. That's also part of what Alan Dershowitz is saying. That is why we need full transparency.
Every single document, no redaction. That's what I've said from day one. I waive any of my rights of privacy. Anything there is about me, I'm happy because it will be exculpatory, because I know I haven't touched a woman other than my wife from the day I met Jeffrey Epstein. I don't even hug people, but I was falsely accused and I was able to prove it, and I was able to prove it through documents, and I want other people to be able to disprove false accusations through documents but these documents are being suppressed and withheld.
All right, so there's two different ways to look at it. Dershowitz, again, of course, famed attorney, one of the absolutely best attorneys ever. He was Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer, got him that 2008 non-prosecution agreement. And he was accused by Virginia Giuffre back in 2014 of being trafficked to Dershowitz, made his life a living hell. And then years later, she comes back and she says, well, I may have been wrong about that Alan Dershowitz. She did. So she made the accusation. She allowed him to twist in the wind. And then she did come back and say, well, I may have made a mistake. Okay, well, a man's life was made a living hell because of that. So, and by the way, there was no money that exchanged hands between Dershowitz and Virginia Giuffre. She just realized she may have made a mistake. We have traffic things going on. It is 8:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. All right, thank you. 8:16. Hey, can we get a more complete update on the traffic than the one we just got, Jay?
Sure.
So what is happening downtown?
Well, I was going to have this in the news, and I'll get to it now for you, Dan, and the listeners, of course. A rollover crash has closed the interstates leading into town from the east and the south. This wreck happened, it's an 18-wheeler. It happened at the I-40 and I-24 merge at the split there in the inner loop that, as we know, goes around the city. A tractor trailer that was going east, it rolled over, broke through the guardrail, and crashed into the westbound lanes. They don't know if anybody's been hurt in all this yet, and they don't know when the road's going to be open either. It's just really messed up. Police are diverting motorists at the Spence Lane exit there at I-40 West. So, again, they just really don't have any information when all this is going to open up. But I'm looking at traffic cameras and ain't nothing moving, man. It's backed up all the way past the airport now on 40 West.
On 40 West, so coming into town.
Correct. And also, 40 and 24, they merge, so it's affecting 24 as well. So, headed into town. So, it's just a big log jam there.
So
is 20
here? I was going to ask, is Chris Hand here yet? This whole thing has to do with me getting out of here on time.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But
I'm looking at the traffic cameras here, and this 18-wheeler is literally laying across the interstate. I mean, there ain't nothing going to move there for quite some time.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did he? So when semis roll,
if the load shifts or something.
Is it a load shift, or are they going too fast?
Probably a little of both. I mean,
turn.
There's a fairly sharp turn right there where this truck is resting. So
is that what you're going to call it, resting?
Yeah. It's my guess that, somebody was barreling through there too darn fast, and their load shifted, and that's what you got. You got a truck laying across the road.
All right, so real quick, 24 westbound heading into town. Traffic is really bad. 24 backed up to the airport.
Yeah, the 40 back to the airport.
Yeah.
So, 40 and 24, where they merge together on the inner loop, that is where the problem exists.
And then 24, if you're coming westbound into town, that is backed up. Could you tell how far that's backed up?
Oh, gosh. If you'll give me a moment, yes, I can.
People want to know.
How do you get home, Dan? Do you go on 40?
I go 40 east.
Okay, so you're avoiding all this.
I don't know if I'll avoid this. Will I avoid this if I'm not that it's all about me, but it is my show. So if I'm going 40 east and I pick up 40 right here at Demumbrian.
Yeah, you'll you'll run into a problem.
Okay,
yeah,
well, I'll take 70 home.
Kind of
messed probably
up.
Is
Thank
also
God I
messed
use
up.
65.
Yeah.
So,
well, but 24, it's it's pretty jammed up to Briley Parkway. That's really not all that far from downtown, but then it's real slow all the way back into Laverne, Smyrna. Just a mess.
All right, very good. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it. 1323 says, Dan, earlier this week you stated you were done with the Epstein issue. That's right. But yet your station keeps harping about it. Is WTN now an arm of CNN? What the hell does that mean? This is what
you can never win, Dan.
1323. Is WTN now an arm of CNN by wanting to hold the powerful and the elite accountable if they were sex trafficking young girls? Does that make us an arm of CNN 1323? I mean, come on, dude.
I know a perfect photo to show him. If you look at Matt Murphy's X post, his last picture, that's basically our thought of that.
The one where he was asking if it was Photoshopped and it's him giving the middle finger?
Yeah.
Was it Photoshopped?
I honestly have no idea.
I don't even know what the whole thing was about.
I should text him.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, listen, I appreciate 1323 for listening. Obviously, he's a valuable listener to the WTN team and the WTN family.
That would have been a good poll question. Was it Photoshopped or not?
But I don't understand why he says that WTN is now an arm of CNN. So in other words, I'm trying to follow the logic. Fox News is reporting on the whole Epstein thing. So I don't get your logic, man, but maybe I'm just short of coffee today. By the way, Steve Bannon was accused by Elon Musk, man. He's got to take his meds. Like Elon Musk has to take his meds. Because first, remember, he accused Trump of being on the list. Now he's accusing Steve Bannon of being on the list. So now Bannon is like, okay, then you've got to release these documents to prove that I am not on the list.
They have to go and demand. They have to go to the court and demand and unseal the sealed evidence in Epstein. It starts there. Then bundle everything together. You got sealed and unsealed, and release it all. Or, which I've called for yesterday, he should appoint a special prosecutor, special counsel now for the 2020 election and everything after that, and include Russiagate and all this. You have to do that. That should be done immediately, and that should report to the President of the United States. And also, they should do one if DOJ can't move off the dime and the FBI can't move off the dime, there should be a special counsel to go through everything and release it all.
Yeah, I love that idea of a special counsel. And by the way, I should have answered the question completely. I did say earlier this week that I was done, and then Donald Trump, much to my dismay, during that cabinet meeting, I don't have the audio, but Donald Trump said to my dismay, "Are you still talking about Epstein? Why are you still talking about Epstein? We've been talking about him for years." In other words, the President of the United States, and a guy that I voted for 3 times, is telling me that I shouldn't care about something like this. So that just got me right back on the story. And it did provide me some valuable perspective that there's clearly something that they are trying to hide. If the president is trying to tell his supporters, sort of guide his supporters to not pay attention to this story, that's pretty serious. That's pretty serious. So yeah, I'm watching this very closely. I'm going to try not to obsess over this story, but I do believe that it is important. I do love the thought of a special counsel. I read that earlier, and we were all talking about who we would like as a special counsel. And I said, and some of the folks on the super text line, Trey Gowdy came up, Matt Gaetz came up, and of course a lot of people said Matt Gaetz has to be on the list. I don't know, whatever. Matt Gaetz was one suggestion. Trey Gowdy as well. There's a lot of people that I like in this situation. Tom Fenton is another one.
Jean Pirro, what do you think of her?
I think she's a great media personality.
Yeah, and leave it at that.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that she's great. I'm sure that Jeanine Pirro is great, but I mean, she's not. You know what? I'm a little soured on television personalities other than Trump. Being recruited into the Trump administration. Don't get me wrong. There's some really good ones, and I realize that Jeanine Pirro, she's already within the Trump administration. I do forget her role, but I just think there's a lot of other really good attorneys, again, like Trey Gowdy. Real quickly, Tom Fenton from the Washington Examiner said this, because the Justice Department has now said in a court filing as they respond to Tom Fenton and Judicial Watch, they put in a FOIA request to get those documents, and this is what Tom Fenton said.
I think they decided for political purposes they didn't want to include the individuals who are on these lists and put them in the public domain. and they were concerned that some of them may not have done something warranting the disclosure. I mean, that's the most charitable interpretation. But there is a list. There's no doubt. I mean, they talk about in the memo they wrote, well, there's no incriminating client list. Well, what does that mean? I want the non-incriminating client list. And of course, a client list is a term of art, right? Where are his associates? Where is the list of contacts? And we asked under our FOIA lawsuit, Pam Bondi, give us the documents that you say you were looking at. Give us documents about the release of these documents. You said the FBI was obstructing the release. They came back to us and said, we have nothing.
There you go. So Tom Fenton, a lot going on with this, and I can almost guarantee you that Chris Hand, if he makes it to work on time, will have something about Epstein as well. 8:25, and Jay Harper is in for Joan Jones. And Jay, what's coming up at 8:30?
Well, as you can imagine, a lot of work left to do in South Central Texas in the aftermath of the flooding there, and a presidential visit expected in the area today. And more tariffs for Canada. Well, we'll have those stories at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 8:26 on WTN. Dan Mandis here for USS, United Structural Systems. Now, I've been telling you about them for years. They are experts in waterproofing, concrete leveling, and foundation repair. This is a great company, and they've helped me several times with my home, and that is why I proudly endorse USS, United Structural Systems. I am, by the way, one of 30,000 satisfied customers. Listen to this recent review on Google. Guy says that USS, they were highly professional. The crew was phenomenal from start to finish, and they treated his home as if they were working on their own home. And yes, he does give United Structural Systems 5 stars all the way. And again, what can they help you with? Waterproofing, concrete leveling, and foundation repair. You've got basement wall stabilization, foundation repair, and again, a crawl space and basement waterproofing, where we guarantee our best. Call USS at 615-488-7855. They're not going to charge you for any unnecessary repairs, and you won't pay a dime until the work is done and you're a satisfied customer. USSTN.com. Well, it is summertime, and you know what that means. A moving season, of course. A time filled with hours of packing and unpacking and so much bubble wrap. But the first thing you should do when moving into your new home is to make sure that the Wi-Fi is booming with Xfinity. It is super quick, and yes, it is easy to set up. And then, of course, boom, you have your Wi-Fi. You'll have your new home hooked up with the ultimate Wi-Fi experience, faster than the time it takes to parallel park a moving truck. Then you'll be back online with the most reliable Wi-Fi with the best in-class equipment from Xfinity. So you can just kick back, relax, and stream your favorite movies and TV shows while someone else deals with all of those boxes. Because with Xfinity, the only thing you'll have to worry about is remembering where you packed the remote. Make the right and easy move with Xfinity. Find out more online, xfinity.com/move. Restrictions apply, not available in all areas. Most reliable Wi-Fi claims based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed Broadband Experience Report, August 2024.
Good morning. It's 8:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got, a weather forecast for your weekend coming up. And as we've been talking about with respect to traffic here this morning, a rollover crash has closed the interstate leading into Nashville, headed westbound, and it's just really caused quite a problem. The crash happened at the I-40 and I-24 merge at the split in the inner loop that circles the city. Apparently, a tractor trailer was traveling east when the truck rolled over, broke through the guardrail, crashed into the westbound lanes, and caught fire. It's not known if anybody was hurt in all this, and it's not known when that section of the interstate will be reopened to traffic. Police are diverting motorists at the Spence Lane exit of I-40 West, and we're keeping an eye on all of this. A week after flash flooding killed more than 120 people in the Texas Hill Country, the magnitude of the disaster still coming into focus. ABC's Jim Ryan says the tragedy strikes one family especially hard.
We're all looking for redemption. That's country singer Pat Green, whose brother was on vacation in Central Texas with his family when the flood came. Tragically, John and Julia Burgess were swept away, along with their 5- and 1-year-old sons. The couple's 8-year-old daughter, Jenna, was away at a nearby camp and is fine physically, but her entire family is gone.
Stock futures are pointing down today after President Trump announced a new round of tariffs for Canada. The president says a 35% tariff on Canadian goods into the U.S. will take effect on August 1st. Here's more from Rachel Scott.
The president insisting that Canada has not done enough to crack down on the fentanyl crisis. Last year, less than 1% of the fentanyl seized came from Canada. Overnight, the Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, saying they're making progress on that. He added, the Canadian government has steadfastly defended our workers and businesses. We will continue to do so as we work towards the revised deadline of August 1st.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
8:33, Nashville's Morning News. We have a special guest coming up, Jay and KGB. Chris Hand has brought an unsanctioned guest to
I saw a little head bobbing around in there.
That's exactly right. So I've been given explicit instructions, no 4-letter words. No cursing. Can I say help? I can say help, right? That's 4 letters.
Is darn okay.
8:33 on WTN. It's the Glock store. You know, I've been talking about the Glock store for a long time because I've been a customer of the Glock store for a long time. Now, I've bought and upgraded my guns, and I've trained all at the Glock store, and you should too. Now, here's why. Because they carry all the Glocks. Factory and custom Glocks, plus they've got the PBGs, you know, the plain black Glocks at the lowest price possible. They've also got the factory-colored, competition-ready Glocks, collectible Glocks, also custom Glocks, and of course, the very popular Trump Glocks. And by the way, they've also got incredible upgrades at the Glock store. Red and green dot optics, updated triggers, and the lowest prices on Glock magazines in the country. And by the way, here in July, a great deal at the Glock store. You buy a 10-round test pack of 9mm ammo for just $6.99, and you get to try any of their Glocks in the rental department, including the GOAT, the Glock 43X, the most popular concealed carry handgun in the country. Shoot270.com and Glockstore.com. That is my friends at the Glock store. Minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere.
Yeah, still working, and this is going to be here for a while yet. I-40 East, the westbound off-ramp there at the South Loop on 40. This would be exit 211. That off-ramp still blocked. We had a tractor-trailer crash, caught fire, blocking the ramp. It's just a mess right there. Also, an injury crash, Blair Boulevard at 20th Avenue South. The right lane also blocked. Hermitage Avenue eastbound between Lindsley Avenue and Driftwood Street. And this is because of the crash there at the split. So, yeah, that's just an area that you may want to avoid if at all possible. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.837, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here along with Jay Harper, who's in for Joan Jones. KGB is here as well. Chris Hand is here. And Chris brought in, I guess it's, Bishop has come in. I guess it's, bring your father to work day.
Is that what it is? It's bring your dad to work day? Yeah.
So Bishop is your 6-year-old son.
He's 5 currently.
Okay.
But tomorrow you turn 6, right? Yeah. So this is a big day. So he's come in to hang out with us here at the radio station today.
Okay, so last time I saw Bishop, he and his brother,
Brooks,
they were pushing me in the pool at Brian's house.
Do you remember that?
And yeah, it was great. I remember too. And they were challenging me with getting things down at the bottom of the pool.
Yes.
By the end of that day, man, I was waterlogged. So now, why are you guys coming to town, Bishop?
Come here.
Yep. So we're doing the radio show today, and then what are we doing tonight for your birthday?
Going to wrestling.
Yep.
You going to wrestling?
Awesome.
Yep. Bridgestone Arena tonight. The WWE's in town, so me and Bishop and his older brother, we're gonna have a boys' night to celebrate Bishop's birthday.
Yeah. And we're staying in a hotel.
You're staying at a hotel?
For 2 nights or one, right, Dad?
Yeah, just one.
Very cool. Well, do you have a favorite wrestler?
Those two and those two.
Well, give the names for the people on the radio. What's his name?
AJ Styles.
AJ Styles.
Choice.
Yeah, it's a good choice.
I thought AJ Styles was a Backstreet Boy.
Dan, no, we're not doing this. Not with wrestling. You're not doing this.
Wrestling seems.
I trained to be one at one point.
Did you?
Yeah.
How'd that work out?
I
can see.
I got suplexed. I got suplexed by a 350-pound Samoan guy, which was actually a lot of fun.
Oh.
So Bishop, does the is wrestling? Do you find it violent?
No, really, not really.
Okay, I'm worried your dad's taking you to a violent sport. I'm just kidding.
Say no way, dude.
No
way, dude. Now, also when Chris Hand's children come in to the radio show, they always tend to insult me like Kennedy did when she was here. Remember that whole thing? Yeah,
When
I
she said-
do.
He said, I'm a big Taylor Swift fan. And Kenny looked at you and went, that makes sense.
Yeah, that tracks.
It was funny.
That was actually very, very funny.
Yeah, but no, we're going to have a good time tonight. Bishop's going to hang out during the show. And he's never been into the radio station before, so you're a little nervous.
Kind of.
Kind of. But you're going to do great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
nothing
now-
to stress about.
Now, don't curse. I don't think your dad allows you to curse.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not. I
He-
don't
he
even
get-
know what that means.
Yeah, good answer.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Leave it to
Man.
Mandis to introduce these kinds of
He
things.
said, I don't even know what that
Yeah.
means.
My bad. Or you're gonna
Destroying
have,
our
know what
youth.
that means.
yeah. We don't want you to be yelled at. And so for people that can see Bishop, he's got, what would you call that? He's got like a happy birthday necklace.
Yeah, he's got his
around him.
birthday necklace. He's got his It's My Birthday pin. Mom decked him out to the nines today.
You got signs for the show?
Yeah, we made a couple signs. Do you remember making signs for the wrestling show yesterday?
Oh yeah.
What does your sign say?
I don't remember.
Oh, it says it's my birthday.
There you go.
That's the sign. That's the sign. So we're gonna have a blast
I'm
tonight, right?
typing all of these wrestlers on,
Yeah, we're gonna.
Are you?
except this one and that one.
Yeah, Bishop brought a couple wrestling action figures, so that way when he gets bored with Dad talking about immigration,
Yeah.
he can
Yeah.
he can play with some toys. Because at a certain point, you're gonna be like, "Were we still talking about immigration?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is very funny. Well, it sounds like you're going to have a good time. So, do you guys in your house, Chris? You have like a happy birthday necklace?
Oh yeah, we got happy birthday necklace. Mom, every birthday that rolls around, Mom decorates the entire house so the kids wake up and right. How many decorations were all around today?
I think 2, 3, or 5.
Yeah, there was a few of them.
Where are your seats tonight?
Well, we made
got
sure.
the top.
Yeah, we made sure that we're high enough up to see everything.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh yes.
You know what I mean?
No,
You get what I'm saying?
You gotta be way up there to see things.
You have to be up there to see everything. The audience understands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, anytime you go to one of those events, let's sit up high so we don't miss any of the action.
Yeah.
Listen, I've been in the front row and you can't see anything.
You can't.
Especially if you're like
The barrier's too high.
little person size, like you.
Yeah, Dan knows.
I think Bishop's pretty big. What do you think? Do you think you're big or little?
I think Bishop just glared at me.
He gave you a little
I wonder
glare.
if the camera caught that. He actually glared at me. It's becoming now a tradition with the Chris Hand children.
But out of all the things that Bishop is not a fan of, being called little is not one of
I'm
them.
sorry. I'm sorry.
It's something that he deals with he's like, I'm not the little brother. I'm just the brother.
Oh, my bad.
Been there.
Well,
Oh.
and listen, knowing that he likes wrestling, he might throw a chair at me.
There's
So
a
please don't throw a
chance.
chair at me. And,
okay.
and by the way, we don't have a lot of good chairs in this place, so you don't want to break one either.
No,
So
no,
there's
we
that.
definitely don't want to do that.
No.
We used to have a birthday hat in my house. There was a birthday cake.
Really?
Yeah. So every time it was one of our birthdays, we would have to put on the birthday cake and the birthday hat, and we would go to like Olive Garden or whatever it is, and we would have to wear the birthday hat.
I love that.
Until sadly, one year, as my birthday was approaching, suddenly the birthday hat disappeared.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to it.
It vanished.
It just vanished. It's crazy. It just vanished.
Oh.
And then when we were moving, suddenly it reappeared again.
Oh, what are the odds?
I know. It's way in the back of the closet that I hid it behind. So anyway, well, very good. That's going to be a lot of fun.
We're gonna have a blast tonight. We're very excited, and Bishop's gonna be hanging out all day. We're gonna put him to work. Not like the Democrats with the farms that we've seen over the past couple of days. Not that kind of work.
No. Maybe we could have him do like traffic reports.
Yeah, you want to do some
I
traffic?
bet he knows roads better than the lady from Pennsylvania that does them.
Yeah, okay.
All you really have to do is just say it's bad. It's
It's
out
bad.
there.
It's very, very bad.
Say traffic is bad. Seek alternate routes.
Birthday
Avoid
cake.
24.
Avoid 24. Birthday cake. You got birthday cake? Did you have a favorite birthday cake?
Chocolate.
That a boy.
Yeah,
There you
and
go.
we kicked off this morning with some donuts, right? We went to Dunkin' Donuts and we
Did
got
you
loaded
really?
up. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We did the whole thing, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good day.
All right, very good. Well, have fun. And again, don't get hit by a flying chair.
You say yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Do you like baseball? You know, baseball is much better than
Dan,
than
stop it.
wrestling.
That's actually his favorite sport is baseball.
Is baseball your favorite sport?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite position that you play?
Catcher and second base.
Okay, very good.
The outfield.
Okay. I used to play second base.
And what's the rule in the outfield? No sandcastles in the outfield.
Yeah.
That's Dad's rule from last season.
Sandcastles?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Stand up, get out of the dirt, stop making sandcastles. We're playing baseball.
Every time I saw someone's sandcastle, I just stepped on it.
There you go. Yeah, it's baseball time. It's baseball time.
So when I've told this story before, but when I played right field, because I loved baseball. I was terrible at baseball, though. But what do you call it? A dandelion?
Yeah.
The thing that you blow on it and the little white things?
Yep.
So I used to have fun with the dandelions when I was a kid. Flash forward to many, many years later when my son was playing baseball and he would be out there and he would do the same thing I did as a kid. He'd start, picking up the stupid dandelions and the ball would get hit and he just goes right by him. I didn't even see him. And so because I was also a coach on the team, so I would run out to the outfield and I would, before the game started, I would pick all the dandelions.
That's hilarious.
Because I told him, you have to pay attention to the, to the ball coming off of the bat and all that kind of thing.
Part-time coach, part-time gardener.
It's exactly right.
You got to do it.
Now, Bishop, is your dad the coach to your baseball team?
He used to.
They fired him, right?
Made him run too many sprints.
No.
No, we had fun. But my coaching, I'm not the baseball guy. My coaching was really limited to morale boosts and war paint. That's pretty much
morale boosts and war paint.
That was really my lane that I operated in.
Oh, that is so funny.
That's where I focused my energy.
Andy also did something else. But
what else did I do?
I don't really remember.
Oh, okay.
He did. It was memorable.
I did
something else. He just doesn't remember.
Third base coach.
If the balls went into the cage, that will throw them back out.
Yep. I did that too. Yeah, it was a big help. It was a big help.
All right, now you're in T-ball, right?
No.
Are you in pitch now?
Coach pitch.
Yep.
Coach pitch now. Okay.
Yep. Still coach pitch.
Okay. Now I got a question. Did you ever strike out playing T-ball?
We never played T-ball.
You never did.
We leapfrogged from nothing to coach pitch.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You know how many times I struck out playing T-ball?
Oh, no.
I don't think so because we didn't even play it.
Yeah, no, he's asking how many times he struck out in T-ball.
I don't know.
Many. Believe it or not, I struck out. I remember my dad. One of my youngest memories is my dad, who was my coach. Son, it's not even moving. It's like, I don't understand how you can't hit that ball, son. It's right there.
It's right there.
And I said, I don't know, Dad. It's like, I just can't hit it. And it was just like, oh, my God.
And it's important to point out there were 5 strikes at the time.
Yes, that's exactly right.
5 strikes?
And I still couldn't hit it.
Can you believe that?
I'm not really very coordinated. I'm not really very good at
tell him, say, I'll help you out, Dan. Don't worry.
Okay, I'll help you out.
He doesn't sound really sincere.
Sound like he's motivated.
He's a little reluctant.
Yeah.
He's a little reluctant.
He's still angry that I called him like little earlier. So,
he's going to beam you.
But that's okay. You know what? That's all good. All right, very quickly. 848 Nashville's Morning News. I had a lot of fun recording
we had a good time.
Our podcast, which is Mostly Peaceful with Dan and Chris.
Yep.
So, do we know if that's actually going to air? We spent 30 minutes of...
I think we're going to get it out on Saturday. So it'll be out Saturday morning.
Okay.
That was the last update that I heard from Mason, our faithful producer of Mostly Peaceful.
Now, from what I understand, what they're doing is it was about 30 minutes long.
Yep.
By the time they get around to editing out all of my screw-ups, it'll be like 10 minutes.
There wasn't that many screw-ups.
You hear what he said? Yeah. He said, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Bishop's like, oh, yeah, man, it's your screw-ups. Hey, Bishop, your dad ever talk about me at home? Like around the dinner table, does your dad, like especially when I was the boss, was your dad ever like a while ago, was your dad like, my boss is just such an idiot. He's so stupid and he's short. And he's got a high voice.
No.
Did your dad ever say, are you sure?
No, definitely not.
Definitely not. I only say nice things about Dan Mandis.
Yeah.
I think he's good coaching.
That's we spent a lot of time on that on the ride in.
Did you? Oh my gosh, that is so funny. All right, well, have fun with all your wrestling stuff.
You tell him, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. All right, now, what do you got coming up?
All right, so on the way, we're absolutely going to cover what happened in Los Angeles yesterday with that immigration raid.
Yeah.
That was insanity, and I loved the way the left was like, they're going after kids, and then DHS, did you see that? So Gavin Newsom tweeted out, They're going after kids. Is this what you voted for? Something along those lines. And DHS said, hey, Governor, why do you have kids working in that operation there?
Yep.
So it is really eye-opening, and the Democrats are continuing to defend that. So we'll talk about all that. We're going to talk a little bit more about Epstein, even though I feel like half the audience is really in on the Epstein stuff and half the audience is out.
I totally agree. So I don't really know what to do. I mean, we have to cover it.
Yeah. Well, it's a big story. So we'll talk about the updates from that, especially the audio from Alan Dershowitz. Did you play that today?
I did.
Yeah.
One guy said to me, why don't you cover something else? It's like, dude, do you know how many things I've covered? I've covered, many things. Ukraine, Russia, illegal immigration. I mean, I've covered a lot. So, but you can't make everybody happy.
You can't.
Yeah. I figured that out. Did you, real quick, and then we got to go. Did you see this? Gavin Newsom, speaking of Gavin Newsom, unveils a $101 million to build low-income housing in Palisades, where there was the fires.
And weren't those homes like the most expensive in all of Los Angeles?
Those are $1 million homes.
Well, that doesn't say much in California.
That's a good point. These are like many, many, many millions of dollars of homes. And so now you've got all these highfalutin people out there in California. They're like, well, we can't rebuild our homes because there's going to be low-income housing everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh. And so one of the things that the Democrats have been saying, because conservatives were saying this was going to happen. We're called conspiracy theorists.
Yep, 100%.
Now it's actually going to happen, according to the Center Square. 6 months after the devastating Palisades and Eaton fires, California Governor Gavin Newsom unveils $101 million in funding Tuesday for a multifamily low-income housing development that will contribute to a more equitable and resilient
it's funny
Los Angeles.
It's funny that he announces this 6 months after the fire, because usually it's about 6 months from conspiracy to reality.
Yeah, that's true. And here's the other thing, real quick, is that you had all these people in Los Angeles saying we're never going to be able to build our homes because of all the regulation, but they're going to be able to get their homes, their low-income housing built like that.
Oh, and do you think that they're what type of Angelino do you think they're going to put in that low-income housing? Do you think that's going to be the documented Angelinos or the undocumented Angelinos?
No, we know exactly. Well, at least ICE will know where to get them.
Fair.
All right, it is 8:52 on Super Talk 99.7. Jay, what's coming up?
Yes, sir. Well, we'll have a traffic update on that crash at the 2440 split that's affected things here on this Friday morning. Also, a special session being called in Texas in the wake of flooding there. And a Delta flight makes an unexpected detour. We'll have those stories at 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's funny. All right, so this is funny. So Bishop, sorry, I didn't mean to say. So Bishop said, "Are we done?" and Chris has to break the news to him. No, we got about another 3 hours to go.
That's fair.
Sorry, Bishop. I know, man. It's a long show. Just ask the listeners. All right.
Oh, jeez.
How much fun it was going to get.
Okay, it's gonna get a lot of fun. Things get rambunctious on the Chris Hand Show. All right, 8:54. If you're maxed out on credit cards, if you're struggling with high interest debt, you could pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. Dan Mandis here, and you can get cash out right now without touching your low-rate first mortgage, no appraisals, no waiting, and no BS. The Rapid Equity Loan program at Loan Pronto, it is amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. Now, they paid off debt. They renovated their kitchen. They cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. That is a huge turnaround, courtesy of Loan Pronto. Instant approvals and low rates and no hard credit pull up front. Now, this is your home equity. It is yours, and you should use it to get yourself in a better financial position. And Loan Pronto can help you do that. Call them 615-499-5780, 615-499-5780, loanpronto.com. You can get debt relief now. Loan Pronto, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 166-1781, on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.